Hello and welcome back to the Sky Bet Football Social, where we are expecting a night full of entertainment at the Etihad between the champions of the last 2 years, Man City, and the newly crowned champions, Liverpool. It's going to be an absolutely massive tie between Pep Guardiola and his old nemesis, Jurgen Klopp. And we've got quite a lineup for you guys tonight. Coming back for his second appearance on the Football Social, it's ex-Liverpool midfielder Charlie Adam. Charlie, welcome back to the show. What are you expecting from Liverpool tonight? Could there be a bit of a hangover?
No, I don't think there will be. I think there'll be a determination to keep the run going and want to go to Man City and try and win the game.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got so many targets in terms of the points tally, in terms of the most amount of wins. So there's plenty to play for towards the end of the year. Also on our panel tonight, we've got Joe Tomlinson, Football Daily's probably biggest Man United fan. How have you found the last week, Joe, since Liverpool were crowned champions?
Oh, I've been in hibernation. I've been in the bunker, trying not to hear anything or read anything because, the abuse I've been getting is fairly astronomical. But, fair play to Liverpool. Been the best team this season by an absolute mile, haven't they? Unlucky not to win it last year as well, losing out by a point. Just the best team in the world right now, frankly. So you've got to take your hats off when you see real quality.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you probably should have joined Gary Neville in Papua New Guinea or wherever he nipped off to last week. Completing our show, we've got Will Brazier on the social corner. Will, welcome back to the show. What are you expecting from tonight's tie?
Well, I'm hoping for lots and lots of goals, because as you know, goals mean content, and we've had a few shows back where we've had a few 0-0s and a few close contests, so just need goals.
I like it. And how can the people get in touch with you tonight, Will?
Yes, lots to talk about tonight, Pep is down with the frown as Liverpool are crowned, but will Jesus, Foden and KDB let the Reds run 3? Hashtag TFS, at Football Daily, at SuckerAM.
Love those little rhymes. They are fantastic, Will. That's your second one of the week, I believe. Fantastic stuff. But before we get into any analysis of the game, let's have a look at the Premier League table. Sorry, the midweek results even. Let's have a look at them. So on Tuesday, Man United thrashed Brighton away from home. Then yesterday, massive wins for Arsenal, Newcastle. Everton beat Leicester, continuing their torrid run of form. And in the surprise result of the day, West Ham managed to beat Chelsea 3-2 at home. A game one I'm sure we'll dive into in due course. Earlier on this evening, another shock as Sheffield United absolutely battered Spurs 3-1. And then coming up this evening, we've got Man City versus Liverpool at the Etihad. Now let's have a look at the bottom of the table. So, as we said, massive win for West Ham last night, taking them 3 points clear of relegation. They were the first side in the bottom 5 to get a win after the restart. Fantastic work from them. That win for Everton as well takes them within touching distance of the top half. Let's have a look at the top half. Yeah, huge win for Sheffield United earlier tonight. They're now up to 7th, above Arsenal and Spurs. Who would have predicted that before the season started? And Spurs' torrid time under Jose Mourinho continues as they languish in 9th. But tonight, it's all about the top end of the table. Liverpool are currently 23 points clear of Man City. If they get another win tonight, they'll equal the most wins in a Premier League season. A lot to play for. Let's have a look at Man City's formation. A few changes actually for Pep Guardiola's men. So Eric Garcia is back from that head injury that he sustained against Arsenal to partner Laporte at the back with Mendy and Walker the wing-backs. There's no place for David Silva in one of his final, what could have been one of his final games for Man City. So it's a Gundogan, Rodri and De Bruyne midfield 3. Up front, they've gone with Foden, Sterling and Jesus, who didn't start their last game against Chelsea, starts tonight. Let's have a look at Liverpool's lineup, though. And it's that pretty much unchanged lineup now from Klopp. You know, the names just roll off the tongue. Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk and Robertson as the back 5. Henderson, Fabinho and Wijnaldum will want to continue their fantastic form after that Crystal Palace demolition. And it's Salah, Firmino and Mane looking to do the damage at the Etihad tonight. Hugely exciting game tonight, Charlie. I mean, we have seen some monster clashes between Man City and Liverpool over the last few years. Clearly the two best sides in the Premier League. What do you think's been the key difference between them this season, though?
Well, I think over the last 18 months, really, Liverpool, the consistency they've had, even the lost league last year by 1 point, they've been phenomenal. 2 Champions League finals, winning one, losing one, and then obviously winning the league this year. Man City dominated for the last 2 years, but this Liverpool side are young. They're still ambitious. The right noises are coming out after winning this league that they want more of it, and I thoroughly believe that they're good enough to go and try and dominate. It's going to be difficult because of the teams behind. The Cities, Chelsea, United will try and compete and sign players. So it's going to be good for next season. But Liverpool definitely thoroughly deserve to be champions.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, if you had to put their success this year or over the last few years down to any one particular reason, what would you do? Would you be recruitment, the manager, the owners?
I think everything from the top to the bottom, really. They've got excellent owners who are willing to spend. They believe in the process that when Jurgen come in, it took them a couple of years to really go and challenge. And they did that last year, obviously won it this year. But the players have been phenomenal on a consistent basis. Obviously, signing somebody like a Van Dijk, Alisson coming into the team, they've been major factors in that. But I think that somebody like Firmino, who's been phenomenal for them over the last 2 to 3 years, he doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves. He's a phenomenal player, and he links to play well for Liverpool, and the other lads obviously score all the goals. But no, it's been a massive group effort, and they thoroughly deserve it.
Yeah, you make a good point on Firmino's link-up play. There's not really a player with his sort of skill set from a number 9 position in world football. On the other side tonight, Joe, we've got Man City, who have already dropped 30 points this year, more than in the previous 2 seasons combined. I mean, what can you put that down to, really?
I mean, I think there's a few different factors. I think the Laporte injury was really significant in Manchester City's season. Obviously, we know about their defensive record not being as good as Liverpool's and as past Manchester City teams. So I think a lot can be put down to that Laporte injury, but you can't solely focus on just that. I definitely think it's been one of Pep Guardiola's tougher years in management. And I think tonight you're going to see really how up for this fight Pep Guardiola is. Some people will be saying, how long is he going to stay at Manchester City? Is he going to want to be here and battle with Jurgen Klopp for league titles? Well, let's see how he sets this team out tonight and if they come out firing on all cylinders, because they could be facing a Champions League ban, 23 points behind in the league. How up for the fight is Pep Guardiola at this stage? Because he could get a move to any club in the world, really. So I'm pretty intrigued by the matchup tonight.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely won't want this league to end on a bit of a damp note for him. They've still got quite a few points to gain to get over their worst ever points tally under Guardiola, Man City, that is. But guys, we've got an absolute treat for you now. Jose Enrique, ex-Liverpool player, made a bet when he was on the Football Social a couple of weeks ago, I think maybe even last week, that he would jump in his pool if Liverpool were crowned champions. And let's have a look at the clip.
I make a bet with Sky Sports today that if Liverpool left the title today, I'm going to jump on the pool in the night time, completely dressed up, like you can see.
Oh. Tienes que saltar mejor que eso.
Wow, this is so cold, I don't know why. Wow, this is the camera. Guy, I done it. I always keep my word, always. So good night, guys. Okay, enjoy so much and you never walk alone, okay? Bye-bye. Good night.
Oh, I love that from Jose. What fantastic commitment. That was also the night where his dog took a pee on the carpet behind him in the Football Social. So he has brought a lot of joy over the last 10 days. And for those of you already in the comments saying it wasn't a particularly good jump in, he didn't dive, he's not allowed to for a head injury he sustained a little while ago. So well done, Jose, man of your word. Will, you were on that Football Social. Did you get a feeling that Liverpool were going to wrap it up this early, or did you think it was going to come down to, because a lot of people were saying it'd be decided in this game?
Yeah, I think going into the game, I think we all thought it, but maybe that's what inspired Everton a little bit more, wasn't it? Especially going into a Merseyside derby, one of the first games back, and Everton should have won it, really. I think that Tom Davies chance near the end. It's just a shame that we couldn't get it on the football social that night and see. I mean, I got the raw end of the deal, didn't I? I just saw a dog pee behind him and didn't see him jump in the pool, so it was a bit unfortunate for me.
Yeah, what a night on the football social. Hopefully there'll be many more scenes like that tonight. We're obviously seeing live scenes from the Etihad now. The Liverpool champions preparing to go out onto the pitch to receive their Guard of Honour. Charlie, Guard of Honours have been in the press a lot this week, with people saying they're pointless, etc. What's your take on them?
Well, we done one at Man United. I think we might have got bullied into it, but I think it's a part of a respect thing. I definitely believe it's something that you should do. You know, this will be hurting Man City's players and the staff, because you don't want to see your rivals coming to your ground, crown champions, doing this. It'll give them the hunger to go and win it next season, definitely. So I think it's a little bit of a wake-up call, but you definitely got to do it. It's a respect. You know, Barcelona had to do it for Real Madrid a few years ago as well. So, no, it's something that you definitely have to do. And, you know, you appreciate it as a, you know, look at Jordan Henderson walking out there, chest puffed out. He'll be delighted with that. But, you know, these Man City players will be hurting doing this.
Yeah, it can't be easy. I mean, Joe, from a fan's perspective, Man United have obviously won a lot of titles down the years and had to give a few a few, what's it called? I've completely forgotten the word.
Guard of Honours.
Oh, Guard of Honours. A few Guard of Honours. As a fan, what have you made having to watch Man United do that to other teams? Does it hurt you?
Not massively. It's always nice when you're on the end of it, or like when you're actually having to walk out. I remember when Man United were given a Guard of Honour at the Emirates by Arsenal, and Robin van Persie was strolling through the middle. I mean, that was a glorious day. But no, not massively. Look, it's kind of it's spoken about a lot in the media, and lots made of it. And I'm sure, like Charlie said, some of the players might be taking a little bit of a confidence boost, and some of the players might be annoyed. But from a fan's perspective, it's just nice just to rub it in other teams' face, isn't it? But it's the same with everything. I don't think you need a Guard of Honour to do that. If you're a Liverpool fan this season, you can rub whatever you want in people's faces because you're 23 points clear.
Yeah, keep it clean, Liverpool fans, though, for sure. Charlie, I mean, how impressed have you been with Liverpool able to, you know, pick up their form from the early part of the season? Because actually going into lockdown, they weren't actually in the best of form, but they've got back to winning ways quite quickly.
No, listen, the top players, and they obviously losing to Watford. Everybody was saying, can they go the full season? I said when they were on that run, I don't think they can because of how tough it is in the Premier League to win every game. But you know, they've always had that break. We always knew that it was when the moment of the season was going to start again, they were going to win the league. But they've just come back fine. You know, they've got the best players. They've been on fire. The pressure they put under teams, you know, they've been relentless, really. And no, I think that they will look to try and get over that points that Man City totaled last year, and then they'll try and kick on for next year.
Yeah, relentless really is the perfect word for them. But guys, let's have a look at the Sky Bet price boost tonight for this game. So, Sterling to score first was 5-1, now 6-1 against his former club, of course. Van Dijk to score a header, excellent in the air, as we know, was 10-1, now 14-1. De Bruyne to score from outside the penalty area. Anyone that put that on against Chelsea would have been in the money. That was 8-1, now 11-1. And Alexander-Arnold to score from outside the penalty area, as he loved to do, those trademark free kicks, was 25-1, now 33-1. You've got to be 18 plus to gamble. Please do so responsibly. And those come in from Sky Bet. Guys, let's have some predictions for the game coming up tonight, though, Charlie. So Liverpool may be a potential hangover, but have named a pretty strong team. But what's your score prediction?
I definitely don't think there will be a hangover. I will go for 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Okay, Joe, what do you reckon?
This has got 0-0 written all over it, but just because Will Brazy is here and he wants to see goals, I'm going 3-2 to Man City.
Oh, Will, what are you reckoning? Is this going to be a 6-6?
No, I think it'd be quite a tame effect. No, I'm joking. I think it'll be 3-3 myself. I think be just going at each other and sort of end of the season, isn't it? So let's have some fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Man City will be pretty determined to pick up their form after that pretty torrid defensive display against Chelsea. But they're already on the attack here through Gabby Jesus. But my prediction for this game, I'm going to go with a comfortable 2-0 win for Liverpool. We saw that when they won the Club World Cup in December, everyone was like, oh, will they be able to keep their Premier League form up? They returned and thrashed Leicester 4-0. So they're pretty good at dealing with success in the middle of a campaign. And it's been solid start from Man City, controlling possession as you'd expect. But guys, we've got to talk about the result that happened earlier this evening at Bramall Lane. Joe, Sheffield United had been in awful form after the restart, but they absolutely thrashed Spurs.
I mean, Spurs are in a mess right now, aren't they? We were saying Sheffield United look a bit dodgy in kind of all aspects of the game since the restart. I think they just lost a bit of that momentum that got them to that position, and that's no fault of their own. They've already set themselves very high heights, haven't they? Nobody's expecting them to be up in the top echelons of the table at this stage, so fair play to Chris Wilder. Whereas Tottenham Hotspur under Jose Mourinho, they just look clueless, to be honest with you. I don't understand the style of football they're trying to play. Are they trying to be a defensive team? Because I don't see loads of attacks coming through that forward three of Bergwijn, Son and Harry Kane. If we were seeing attack after attack and mischance after mischance, you might be able to excuse maybe shipping goals more regularly because you're attacking so much, but you're not seeing any attacks and you're not seeing any defending. I don't understand the back two of Davison, Sanchez and Eric Dyer when you've got Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld set on the bench either. So for me, it's really bizarre for Jose Mourinho because you kind of associate him with some of the best defensive teams in Premier League history, and now it looks like he can't set up a team to defend.
Is that
go?
Well,
no, it's offside, surely.
Surely offside.
I thought
just
that
offside.
reaction from Van Dijk. He must be offside.
Going back to your
it was
point,
tight,
but nah, he's
Right back playing.
Going back to your
off.
point about Sheffield United, you know, that goal against Villa should have stood, so they would have won that game.
Yeah.
You know, I know that, you know, they've done well this year, but you know, I don't think it's a surprise to see Newcastle beat them at their place, because I think Newcastle are capable of beating anybody at home. They're a good side. So I just think that because they've set aside such a high standards and they've lost a couple of games, everybody thinks they're going to struggle. And then, you know, they go and bounce back tonight against a Tottenham team who, at the moment, just seem to be relying on Harry Kane. He's been out for 6 months and, you know, keeps playing 90 minutes. At some point, he's going to have a rest because he's going to blow up again. So I think that's the worry for Tottenham.
Yeah, it seems like they're really paying the price for not getting a Harry Kane number 9 replacement. As we see, a good save from Edison, but it's through to Firmino. It's another good save from Edison. Fantastic
it's a great pass
save
from Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Great pass
Charlie,
from
talk us
Van
through
Dijk.
it
Van
here.
Dijk. It's a special pass. That's the type of pass Van Dijk likes to play. Get out of his feet, Salah. And obviously talk about Firmino want to come into the hole and play, and he allows space for Salah to run in behind, and Van Dijk could hit a pass from anywhere on the pitch, and he's picked it Salah, and it was a good save from Ederson, and they got up well to react to the one from Firmino as well.
Yeah, he'll be pleased to start the game in such fashion, Edison, after a couple of shaky moments throughout the season. But guys, we can't talk about Sheffield United Spurs without mentioning the Harry Kane disallowed goal, which was disallowed because of a Lucas Moura handball in the build-up. I mean, Will, what did you make of that? It seemed like a pretty farcical decision.
Well, it just goes, I think common sense was said about 15 times during half-time, and it's just not applied to any laws of the game hardly anymore, especially with VAR. The fact that Tottenham didn't get the free kick after it as well was just another kick in the teeth for them. And I mean, he's on the floor with his head turned, with his back. He's just been fouled and the ball's been booted at him. So how that can be given as a handball? Well, a letter of the law would state it would be. But yeah, just where's the common sense, Duke?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seems like, you know, everyone wants that rule removed. It's led to a lot of controversy this season and doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I mean, Charlie, from a player's perspective, you've obviously been in the Reading dressing room this year. I mean, what are players saying about VAR?
It's shambolic, isn't it? I believe that they should never have brought it in. You know, they're saying it's common errors, and that episode that we had at Aston Villa against Sheffield Wednesday the other night. How is that happening in the professional game? We could, if it's normal mistakes, we can understand it, but we bring in TV evidence to try and help the game, and it's a clear goal, and we still can't get it right. So I think we should get rid of it. That tonight was very unlucky. Mora turns his back, defender kicks it against his arm, and all of a sudden it's a foul, it's a handball, it's a disgrace, and the goal should have stood. But like we say, there's too many Chiefs trying to run the game that probably never played it before.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I like it.
Charlie, let him have it.
Pulling no punches 5 minutes into the football social. I love it. But do you think most? Sorry, I was going to say, do you think most players agree with you?
Yeah, I think they do. I think players are getting frustrated. Managers are getting frustrated with it now. They said that we're trying to help the referees, but just keep going back to that. That incident at Villa Park should never happen. If you've invested that amount of money, and they're saying that it was, the system wasn't working or whatever it was, I can't believe it actually happened. And it's something they've got to look at for next season, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is the inconsistencies, definitely. I mean, they talk about Stockley Park, but it seems like there's, numerous ones at times with the lack of sort of consistency between decisions, which is very frustrating for fans, for pundits, for players alike. So there's definitely some teething problems. And particularly with that goal line technology decision, that was just simply embarrassing. But here we have, it's been an even start to the game. Actually, both teams, experiencing a bit of possession. Charlie, I wanted to ask you, obviously you had that 1 year at Liverpool. What was that like, and how much do you think the club has changed since then?
It's changed a lot since I was there. Wonderful club, big club where you were looked after like a king. It was amazing. We had some great times there playing, but the club's evolved because it started, going and winning trophies regular now. And when I was there, we obviously won the Carling Cup and got to an FA Cup final. But the inconsistency of trying to win the league we failed at that. But they've got a manager in now who just seems to be rolling out trophies every year now, and he's a top manager. The players that they brought in there now are incredible.
Yeah, really are signing the best of the best. What was it like being signed by...
I think also now it's going to be difficult for Liverpool to... when we were talking about Man City back in the day, we were thinking, right, who are they going to buy to replace the players that they've got that are going to be better? I think Liverpool at the moment there, we talk about they wanted to sign Werner and things like that. There's not many players in this world at the moment are going to improve Liverpool. Maybe Mbappe or something like that might improve them, but there's not many that's going to improve them. So Liverpool, I think that if Liverpool can get the bench, stronger, but the problem is which top players want to come and sit on the bench. That's a difficult thing,
Yeah, that is such a good point. We've been talking about it on the channel for months now that they need to get in a backup left back. But when Andy Robertson's so fit and consistent, it's difficult to see players going up there to be second choice. I was going to ask you, Charlie, as a proud Scotsman, what was it like being brought in by a sort of national hero, Kenny Dalglish?
Oh, it was amazing. What a pass. That's the third time now that they've nearly got in Liverpool. Yeah, it was amazing. I've said the story a few times when I went round to his house to speak to him and had a cup of tea, and that was just surreal. It was fantastic to work with him and Steve Clarke, two Scots people, working every day with them, and it was a great time for me, and I loved every moment of being there.
Yeah, for sure. Steve Clarke, always so highly talked about as a coach as well. Will, what are the comments saying? Because it's been quite an entertaining opening sort of 9-10 minutes.
Yeah, you mentioned about the records that Liverpool could break, and Charlie, I wanted to pick on one specifically and ask you, do you think Liverpool could go on to break that 100-point barrier and set the pace against Man City?
Yeah, I think they can, because...
Oh my gosh! I think
they can, because Jurgen will be at the players about not dropping the standards. They want to keep the standards. They want to finish the season as a proper team, championship team. They've been the best team. They don't want to let the next, few games just peter out. So no, they'll be on it from day dot. And you can see tonight they started the game well. They've had a couple of opportunities to try and get in behind Man City. What a cross! What a cross! What a cross from Alexander!
I can't believe how open this game is. I cannot believe how open this game is. It's literally so end to end, isn't it?
I know, it's fantastic to watch.
But that's the thing about Man City. Liverpool are doing what Man City, they're stretching Man City and making it awkward, making the defenders run back to their own goals, something that they're not used to, with the pace of Mane and Salah. It's it's going to be an open game, this.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much threat throughout both sides, really. And it's been fascinating to see the lack of midfield battle so far. It's more like a basketball game at the moment. Joe, let's touch on the big talking point from last night. Chelsea, have put up such a good run of form so far, obviously beating Man City last week, and then they go and put in a performance like that at West Ham. What did you make of it?
Firstly, what a win for West Ham. I think that will go a long, long way to securing them Premier League football next season, because I actually just don't see where any of the teams below them pick up another win from this season. They've all been in such torrid form. Yeah, and I thought, as mediocre as Chelsea were at the back, and it's certainly an area I'm sure that Frank's going to look to improve on in the summer, I definitely think there's still positive to them going forward. Christian Pulisic, yet again, since the restart, it's just been magnificent. And last night, best player on the pitch by an absolute mile. So I think when they get the defence right, I don't think Frank will be too concerned. Whereas for West Ham, it was just a monumental night, wasn't it? It was just everything that went right, really, that could have gone right, went right. Other than that, of course, disallowed goal with VAR, another piece of controversy there from Souček. But you just got to take your hats off to West Ham, I think, for that one, because as bad as Chelsea were, I thought West Ham took their opportunities pretty well, broke against them. Mikel Antonio had a great game up front, holding the ball up, just being a constant thorn in that Chelsea back line. And now Chelsea, really, I'm sure the fans already know it, but the neutral probably knows now that Chelsea have to improve on that back four in the summer, especially when it comes to set pieces.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some work to be done, particularly at goalkeeper and left back, and then possibly at centre back as well, although they'll definitely need to shift one of their four they've currently got. I mean, Charlie, it really does open up the race for third, for fourth, for fifth, for sixth. They're all so tight in there. Ooh. Who do you see finishing for sort of third and fourth? Let's have it.
I think it could be Chelsea and Man United third and fourth. I think Leicester could slip away. They're on a bad run, and it's going to be tough with everything that's going on in the town. I think might affect them as well. So I just think that Man United and Chelsea could be in the top third, 3 and 4 positions, and would Man United be happy with that? No, obviously they'll be delighted if they can get in the Champions League. But from where they were, I think it's a major improvement because. That Fernandes has come in and he's been a revelation this season. Oh, what a cross! What a cross!
That's unbelievable.
He's got that in him, Mendy. That was one of the reasons he signed him, wasn't it? The quality he's got like that. I know he's sometimes a bit suspect at the back defending, but what a delivery that is!
Yeah, when he's on form, there's not really many better crosses.
Like watching myself, that.
A sweet left foot as well. Glorious stuff. Joe, let's touch on Man United, because you must be an absolute dreamland. Even if you don't finish third, it looks like fourth, a very big possibility. And your team is playing the best football for years, I would say.
Yeah, definitely the best football since probably the initial Jose bump, the classic Jose 5 months that Tottenham don't seem to have got this time. But yeah, playing fantastic football, young, exciting team. Bruno, like Charlie's mentioned, has just changed everything at the club, changed absolutely everything for us. Just the culture of wanting to win, giving 100% all the time. Because people will talk about his goals and his assists and his attacking quality is obvious, but what people won't talk about is his defensive work rate, his leadership on the pitch, how he's changed players around him for the better, and it's brought the best out of Paul Pogba as well, because Paul Pogba now has competition to be Manchester United's number one man. And yeah, I just think Bruno's just changed everything at the club. But what I want to just touch on as well is I think Solskjaer's done a fantastic job in the last 3 or 4 months, re-galvanising that side, finding a way to win. Because previously people were saying, United can only win on the counter-attack. That's all United can do is use the pace of Dan James, Marcus Rashford, hit the big teams away from home on the counter-attack, and that's the only way we're winning games. Whereas now you're seeing United just break teams down over and over again. I think that's 15 games unbeaten now, something like 37 goals scored, 4 conceded. So it's really good signs, but there's a long way to go. Some of the chat about being potential title contenders and stuff is a long way off. United's still 4 or 5 players off of real quality, I think, from being at the level of a Liverpool and a Man City at the moment.
Do you know what Ollie's done? I liked about him. Talking about Dan James, he played 25, 30 games in a row, didn't he? And all of a sudden he's took him at the limelight a little bit, gave him a chance to go and sit on the side and watch, give him an experience from the side, and just bringing him on here and there, and he'll become a better player as well. And also I think somebody like a Fred should get a lot of recognition how he performed while Pogba was out. I thought he was brilliant, and he's probably a little bit harsh that Matic has come back in and he's done really well for a bit of height. So no, I think as you look at it, McTominay done brilliant until he got injured. So the whole squad's now starting to look up to somebody. They've got a match winner in Fernandes, haven't they? The big clubs have it. When you're having a tough time, you always look to your main player, somebody that can go and win a game out of nothing. And he seems to be Man United's player at the moment. And he's a wonderful player to have.
Yeah, he really has made such a difference. I think since he came in, no one's won more points than Man United in the Premier League. Quite incredible to think about. And if they can keep this form going and start next season, well, they should be a lot safer in the top 4 at least. Will, I wanted to ask you about Mason Greenwood, because he's been, one of a number of young English players that have really shone this season.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, we haven't got the Euros this summer, which obviously was a massive negative to start with, but thinking of some of that young English talent that we could have that would have an extra year of experience going into the Euros, it's really exciting. And even as a neutral watching United play the other night, that third goal was just... was he in here? Not blown up, is he?
It's offside, I think.
Okay, offside again.
Tight it's open, isn't it, at the back?
But I just think it's very exciting.
That's the thing about this. These two teams, because the fullbacks play so high, the space is in between the centre back and the fullback. Both teams can get in all day if they play. When you've got somebody like De Bruyne on the half turn, there's going to be so much space in between Van Dijk and Robertson or Gomez and Alexander, because they play so high, and there'll be a lot of chances for only being 17, 18 minutes gone.
Yeah, it's been absolutely thrilling. Charlie, I wanted to ask you about Liverpool's midfield, because it gets some... it's had criticism in the past for being workmanlike, maybe not providing enough creativity, enough goals. I mean, what do you make of the Liverpool combination in midfield? And if you were Klopp, would you look to strengthen there?
Well, they did in Naby Keita, and I think Naby Keita has struggled since he come into the club. But if you look at the 3 that have played in there all season, Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Henderson, they complement each other very well. I don't think Wijnaldum gets the credit he deserves for being a very good footballer. He's a top player. Fabinho goes and sits and patrols that defensive area very well, and Henderson's energetic. Is good on the ball. Probably not as good as Wijnaldum, but will go and be energetic and set the tempo for Liverpool. And everybody's got their own jobs. There's a big chance.
Here we go.
If he squares it,
go on. It's come back.
It's hit the post.
It's gone now.
It's hit the post.
What a chance! Mo Salah hits the post. Charlie, talk us through this.
There you go. The space in between the full-back and the centre-back again. Look, where's my left-back up the pitch? And Salah gets in there and... it's unlucky. He hits the post.
Angle back across Everton, hits the post.
And it come back off Mane. If he hit it the first time, he had probably a better chance. But going back to what we were talking about, I think it's... I think the 3 in midfield for Liverpool complement each other, because because Man City are so good in midfield, everybody thinks they should have that Kevin De Bruyne in their team. It's worked how it worked for Liverpool, and fair play to the lads in there. They've done an excellent job all season.
Yeah, on Henderson. On Henderson,
Yeah.
did you get an impression when he was at Liverpool? Because you crossed over for a year, didn't you? That he'd go on to become the player he is today.
We signed the same week. No, I think that, when you first go into a big club like Liverpool, when he was leaving Sunderland, he was 19 years of age, young lad. I think he just, maybe he was a bit shy, and as you seem to settle into the football club and get more responsibility. Remember, Brendan was trying to get rid of him. They wanted to do a swap deal for Clint Dempsey, but he was adamant he wanted to stay, and got his opportunity, and progressed, and now he's a top player. He's could be one of the first name on the team sheet for England and for Liverpool. So he's matured into a wonderful captain, and yeah, I'm delighted for him because he was a great guy when I was there, and like I say, it's nice to see the good guys actually getting rewarded.
Yeah, for sure. And Sunderland, born and bred, I'm very proud of him. His connection with my club as well. He's what a player. You could always tell that he had the work rate and the sort of endeavour to try and get to the top. But the skills that he's added to his game, he's just one of the most complete midfielders in England at the moment, at least.
But guys, he had to get Sunderland in, didn't he?
It took 21 minutes, but I managed to get it in the end. Guys, 21 minutes in, and we've got a treat for you. We've got our first Sky Bet price boost. Let's have a look at what they've got lined up for us. So it's Salah to score first. Was 5-1, now 6-1. He's, of course, already hit the post just a few minutes ago and has looked lively, as have the whole Liverpool side at the start of this game. Joe, have you been impressed with how they've recovered from what was no doubt a pretty, celebration-filled weekend?
Yeah, some of the quality of passing on show from both the fullbacks and the centre-backs has been ridiculous. Trent Alexander-Arnold, the ball over the top of this Man City back on which, and like as you just saw, I think it was Carl hitting a sort of 60, 70-yard ball across the field to Kevin De Bruyne. So I wouldn't be too worried about any hangover for Liverpool, but that's good by De Bruyne.
Never.
He's appealing, but it looked like a simple coming together in the box. Van Dijk just sort of shepherding him out.
Has he given a foul here?
No, surely.
I think he's given up that there.
He's given it for Gomez on Jesus. Good skill from De Bruyne there, I thought.
Yeah, nice flick from him there.
So just a little clash.
Free kick to Man City. Wide out on the left. Good chance. Oh, they've taken it short. Looks like Foden swinging in, and it's headed away by Van Dijk.
That was an anti-climax.
Oh,
what's going on here?
Oh, here we go, though. Where's the Liverpool defence?
Give it back. Oh, well defended by Fabinho, that.
A weird moment there where Liverpool's defence seemed to put up and leave, I think it was Foden free on the left-hand side. But yeah, Man City on the attack around the 20-minute mark. Will, what have the fans...
How about this for some time, then? Bayern have just announced Leroy Sané. 23 minutes
just
into
now?
the game between Man City and Liverpool, yeah.
Penalty.
As a penalty. Oh my goodness, we were busy talking about Bayern and Sané, but there's a penalty at the Etihad. Yellow card for Joe Gomez. Charlie, talk us through this moment.
The ball's got into Sterling. He's got what? He's done brilliant. He's pulled him back.
God.
Yeah.
Sterling
Brilliant skill from Sterling.
again.
I know, they had some clashes in the last game.
Round 2, baby. He's got him by the meat and veg there, isn't he?
Foul.
He's holding on to him for a long time there, Charlie.
He's getting him back to that England camp.
Yeah.
As a penalty, he's just got too tight, and Raheem's done brilliant there, and the magician now going to step up. But I think it's been a great game. Both teams have. Yeah, I've got him in my fantasy team as well. Well, both teams could have scored. But it was a penalty, and we'll see what happens if De Bruyne could tuck this away.
De Bruyne from 12 yards. He's already got 10 goals this season. No issues. Goal for De Bruyne. 11th goal of the season for KDB to go along with 16 assists. Puts Man City 1-0 up at the Etihad. Gap temporarily dropped to 20 points. Liverpool You know, they're going for that win record. They're going for that points tally. It hasn't started well for them at the Etihad, despite some chances. They are 1-0 down. KDB with ease. I mean, Charlie, for you, has he been the best player in the Premier League this season?
Who, De Bruyne?
De Bruyne, yeah.
Listen, he's been phenomenal, but obviously, I think Mane is phenomenal. You know, I think he's been brilliant for Liverpool. And if it was probably for the Player of the Year, I would have given it to maybe Henderson or Mane. But yeah, listen, De Bruyne is a special player, and it's a joy that he's actually in the English League and playing. You know, I just hope that he'll stick around if the Champions League verdict doesn't go the way Man City hope it goes.
Yeah, we're expecting to find that out in a couple of weeks. I mean, Joe, what sort of impact do you think that will have on the Man City squad? We've already seen speculation around Sterling, De Bruyne, Aguero's only got a year left on his contract. Do you think any of their big names could leave?
I think the biggest worry, I know he's already he said that he's going to stay, is surely Pep. And it would be a long 2 years, I think, for Pep Guardiola to not be in the Champions League at this stage with Manchester City if that ban is fully upheld. Likewise, we've already mentioned Kevin De Bruyne. I think he'd be into his 30s by that stage. And at that stage of your career, do you think you're going to have a better chance at winning a Champions League than now when you're the best midfielder in the world? Probably get any move you want, maybe to a Real Madrid.
Where does he go?
Maybe to Real Madrid. I think he would probably start in their team pretty comfortably, and they've obviously got the money post that Ronaldo sale, and I think he'd start over Ernesto Valverde in there. So Real Madrid, but then equally in this sort of post-coronavirus world, I think clubs are going to try not to spend hundreds of millions of pounds. Just because finances are going to be tight even for the big boys. So I'd be a little bit surprised if KDB was to leave. But as I said, I think Pep is the biggest worry for me.
Yeah, well, it is a bit of a... I mean, he's obviously been phenomenal at Man City, two, incredible campaigns that we thought were never going to be topped until this year. But he has lost 20 games in 4 years, which is actually the same amount as he lost in his previous 7 years in charge of Barcelona and Bayern. I saw that stat today and I thought it was pretty interesting, although you'd have to say Bayern Munich in particular did steamroll the Bundesliga during his time in charge there. So not as much competition as you'd expect as in the Premier League. Speaking of Bayern Munich, Charlie, what sort of impact do you think the loss of Leroy Sané will have on this side?
For me, before the injury, a lot. But now, I don't think it'll affect him as much. He's coming back from a serious injury. Where does he play? Mahrez has done extremely well since Sané's obviously got injured. Sterling will be is the main man. They won't drop him. So it'll be difficult for Sané to actually get back in the team. I think it's a good piece of business with the money that they've spent with, only a year left on his contract. So I think Man City have done the right thing in selling him for, £55 million. A lot of money. They can get a replacement in. So I think it's a good piece of business. For Man City, definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually if they didn't get a replacement. I think they'll probably use that money to strengthen it at centre back and possibly left back. We shall see. Will, while we're on the topic of transfer targets and movings, a player that's been speculated for a move to Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund for months is the Blues' own Jude Bellingham. What can you tell the viewers about him and his skill set? And are you sort of sure he's going to leave this summer? Does it seem inevitable?
Well, first of all, it's great to be on a platform like this and speak about a Blues player moving to a major club because, to be honest, it doesn't happen a lot, especially in my lifetime. So, first of all, thanks for the opportunity. No, great player. Obviously really young, but physically doesn't look out of place in the Championship. Started off... Is it?
He's turned it. He does. Gabby has good work in the box, turns his defender and shoots off. But we'll continue.
Yeah, sort of started out as a striker, then sort of played him behind him, and now he's just turned into a sort of box-to-box midfielder. So, I mean, at 16, I think he's just about to turn 17. No, he's just turned 17, so he's finally off £150 a week, which I'm sure he'll be happy about. But it's inevitable he goes. I just think it'd be great if we could get him loaned back for a season because, I mean, if he goes to Dortmund, there's probably more of a likelihood that he'll start. But if he moves to the top tier of European clubs, then think another season.
I don't think the Dortmund move will be good for him. I don't think it'll be a good move for him. I think he's got to stay in England.
Too soon.
No, I don't. Everybody thinks, no, going to Dortmund. Yeah, it worked for Sancho, great. It might not work for Jude Bellingham. I think he's got to stay in England. I think he's got to go to Man United and go and play there, and maybe for the next year be in the squad and being around it, and then next year after that maybe go on loan if they can. That's my personal thing. That's what I would like to see. We played against him earlier in the season, and I thought he was a top player. You could see what he's got, the attributes. He's got a bit of a gallus about him. He could go both ways. Likes to run into the box. So, he's got the right potential. But the problem is, who's going to pay £25 million in this market now for a 17-year-old? It's going to be tough. But he definitely will move on, and it's just he has to make the right decision.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Charlie, what's it like when you come up against a player like Jude Bellingham, who's been heavily touted, talked about in the press? Are you quite keen to assert your authority on the pitch and show him, the benefit of your experience?
Absolutely. You got to tell him who's the main man in the town, ain't you?
You put some challenges in.
Leave it on him.
Unfortunately for me, I was sat on the bench for the full game, so I was all right. I was nice to watch from the side.
You sent him some evils, mate.
Yeah. He's showing in the games that I've seen that he's got the potential to go to the top level. But I just think that everybody thinks we should go to Dortmund or things like that. Yeah, it worked for Sancho, but look at Sancho now. He's desperate to come back to England to play. So, that's that'll be an interesting one to see where that goes. But what a pass!
It's still on. It was a rare poor pass from Firmino. It's just slightly behind Mane, and if it had been in front of him, it looks like Mane was through on goal. Here we have it again, but it's just behind him. Disappointing at the last. But Liverpool,
great now.
Still on the attack. Plenty of chances to get our teeth stuck into. And Joe, we saw a few minutes ago, Gabby Jesus sort of kicked the ball into his own foot and it goes wide. I mean, do you think, with Aguero out for the season now, do you think Pep Guardiola should be looking to start Gabby Jesus, as a straight out, as his number one from the start of next year, is what I'm trying to say?
As in, should they sign another striker instead of Gabby Jesus, or stick with him?
Or basically, do you think he deserves to start as a number 9?
He's in. Salah's in. Oh, good goal!
Great one from Edison.
Great goalkeeping. Yeah, just to go back to the issue of the
having a little VAR.
Are we going to a little VAR here? Is it a little hands?
Wow. No, he's not going to get VAR.
No.
Unless it came off his elbow when it bounced up. I don't think it did.
Oh, no,
fine. Just to go back to Gabby Jesus, I think Gabby Jesus has to be starting next season for Manchester City if he's going to have a career at this club. If you don't get that starting berth next season with perennial knee injuries to Sergio Aguero and you're Gabby Jesus, you've got to leave, because clearly Pep doesn't have the faith in you. I mean, I thought it was bizarre when they lined up, was it against Chelsea without a striker? And Gundogan was being touted as playing as a potential 9 and Bernardo, and it just didn't work at all, I didn't think. I thought they had to have a striker on the field. And I think Gabby Jesus is good enough. I really do. I think for his age, he's shown incredible level of talent, and I think he'll probably be that number 9 next season. Let's not discount Sergio Aguero as he's never going to play again either, by the way, because we've seen how many times he's been injured, come back and scored 20 goals. So I think Gabby Jesus will probably start next season, and Sergio Aguero will play the big games and the most important minutes, because there's still so much football to be played in this league.
But then again,
I wouldn't be too worried. Chance.
God,
Foden has overwritten it.
Let's go! Raheem Sterling against his former club. Celebrate. Man City 2-0 up at home. What a goal. Lovely work from Phil Foden. Lays it off to Sterling. He comes inside and finishes low inside Alisson. A little bit shaky at the back, but Charlie, talk us through this.
Break.
I keep saying the space between the two centre-backs and the full-backs it's on all day, innit? Because they play so high. Foden gets in this position. Great composure. Sterling cuts inside Gomez again and tucks it away. Brilliant play. Listen, nobody doubts Man City's passing ability. It's just on the day nobody can get close to them. Even like a club, even like a team like Liverpool. It's phenomenal. They're a joy to watch, and what a finish this is.
Dude,
it's
crazy.
when you
see first goals against Liverpool.
Yeah,
when you see performances like this, and and against Burnley a couple of weeks ago, and you just struggle to think why this team is 20 points behind Liverpool with the title wrapped up with 7 games to play. It's crazy.
What a cross, De Bruyne.
What a ball!
Wow.
That's where Gabby Jesus has got to be. Gabby Jesus has got to be on the end of that as a natural number 9. You're crying out for it.
Your Kanes and your Aguero and people like that would have been in there just tapping that in to make it 3-0.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. It's just inconsistent. We talk about it earlier in the show, but centre back or Mendy not playing enough at left back. So when you don't have a settled back four, it is difficult. So no, listen, Man City. Let's say at the start that they're definitely going to come here and show that they mean business for next season, and they started the game extremely well, and to be 2-0 up. It could be 2-2. It's been such a good game.
Yeah, for sure. Salah hitting the post, of course. It's actually Man City have actually scored from both of their 2 shots on target as well. So they have been ultra clinical. Just to finish off on Gabby Jesus, I did think he had a phenomenal performance in arguably City's best result of the year, that 2-1 victory over Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, where he sort of played as a left winger and then came inside. He was awesome that night. So there are signs that there is, a superb player in there. But I'm with Joe and Charlie. He needs to get regular game time. Will even 36 minutes gone. What are the comments saying? Do we have any questions?
Yeah, lots of shock and awe in the comments as well. And just went on Twitter as well. Joe, one for you. You obviously have him as your manager. Jose out is trending on Twitter. Are his days numbered?
No surprise. Wow. I mean, it feels early, doesn't it, to say his days are numbered at Spurs, given that he hasn't had a transfer window really to stamp his mark on this side. But I'm just struggling to see what's improved since Pochettino's left. It's not as if we're looking at this Tottenham team going, you can really see where Jose's shored it up at the back since Poch has left, or we can really see that Jose's started free-flowing attacking football since Poch has left. So that would be a big concern for me if I was a Tottenham fan, that nothing's improved. But I think it's a little bit too early for that. He's surely got to be given a summer at least to put his mark on this team. I'd be very, very surprised if Daniel Levy lets him go, given that he's probably on £15 million a season and in the midst of a 4-year deal. So they're not going to eat another 30 million to sack him.
Yeah, no, I just can't see that happening at all. And as you say, needs a window. But there have been some quite damaging signs, Charlie, particularly in the way he sort of interacted with some of his squad, namely Tanguy and Dembele. I mean, what do you think about Mourinho's man management style? I mean, is that sort of quite confrontational approach? Would that be something that would get the best out of you?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that he's probably thinks of it and Dembele that he's not pulling his weight round, and he's not happy with it. I think in this day and age, as a player still playing, I think it's very difficult to actually. Players don't accept criticism nowadays. When I was younger or when I was coming through, when a senior player told me something, you'd accept it a little bit. These younger players nowadays, they've always got an answer to come back to, or listen, they have their opinion, but when somebody experiences talking to you, you've got to listen. And if a manager wants to be critical of me, I would take it on board and try and prove them wrong. It's a different way of mentality nowadays in man management, and you've got to adapt and what's best for your players.
Yeah, I remember when you left Stoke, or at least when Stoke went down, maybe you were quite critical of some of the attitudes of some of your teammates at Stoke. I mean, what does it do to a dressing room morale when you feel like not everyone's pulling in the right direction?
It's demoralising. My issue was when lads were just walking in training late and just make an excuse to try and, if it wasn't their fault, if they're walking in, if you've got to be in at 9:30 and they're walking in at 25 to 10, just leave your house another 10 minutes earlier, you know. And it was happening on a regular occurrence. And us as senior players, yeah, you could say so much, but eventually you wash your hands with these people, because at the end of the day, you know, if you're turning into your work at 9 o'clock every day and somebody else is walking in at 25 to 10, and he's getting an opportunity to play in front of you or in front of other players, it's not right, is it? And the dressing room then eventually becomes a split divide, and it was difficult, but that's how it goes. But that wasn't just the only reason that we got relegated. No, performances weren't good enough, and you know, big decisions at big moments, missing the penalties. You know, myself against Brighton, take responsibility, and that's football, you know.
Is that something you noticed during your time at Stoke? Because obviously, I think for 3 of your first 4 years there, you finished 9th. You were sort of regular in the top half of the table. Do you think that maybe they slightly got the recruitment wrong with some of the characters they brought in?
Well, I think Mark Hughes has gone on record this week saying that he did, saying that they got the recruitment wrong. So, listen, Stoke's a great club, great owners, chief exec Tony Scholes there, good people in the staff and in the back room. But if you don't go and actually do your homework on these type of people that you're bringing into the football club and what they're doing away from the game or how they are as people, then you're going to suffer if you don't get it right. And you know, once you get 2 or 3 in the dressing room, it spreads, and that's what happened to us.
Yeah. And just on your sort of the early parts of your career that we saw you in England, you were playing for a Blackpool team that was so fun to watch and did phenomenally well, particularly in the first half of the campaign. And then you got an amazing move to Liverpool. Describe that sort of feeling in or time in your life. Did it just feel like everything was going right for you and everything was sort of snowballing for you in a positive way?
Oh, it was amazing. It was like playing with my mates every week, going into work every day. You know, we used it. Obviously, back in the day, we were having to wash our own kit and things like that. We used that as a positive. We used it as a laugh and a joke. And you know, the lads were the spirit what we had was phenomenal, and the results proved that. We still keep in touch with each other now in a WhatsApp group, and we always once a week there's always conversations going on. So you know, they moments will never leave you. Listen, when you're in a football environment, you end up speaking to 5 or 6 people, but when you leave it, you know, it's very rare that you talk to people that you've played with. So, you know, it is nice to keep in touch with these lads, because it was a great period for me. And listen, it's a good club, back on good base now with a new owner and a new manager in there. So, looking forward to see what they can achieve next season.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, what a time for Blackpool, and it must have been a lot of fun under Ian Holloway as well. We've seen Benjamin Mendy booked in this game. Joe, have you been impressed by the... Sorry?
Have you had Ollie on here?
No, we haven't, actually. He'd be great.
He'd be brilliant.
Do you think he'd be willing?
Brilliant on this.
Yeah,
Ollie will come on. Yeah, I think he would. I think he'd definitely love to sit on that.
Yeah, please do.
Get him on that sofa. He'd love to be on it.
You could tell that infamous hamster story. That was so good. I remember at the time. Probably not repeatable on a live stream.
Chickens, everything, that man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what was it like? What was it like working for someone like that? I mean, imagine he must have just put such like a smile on your face every day.
He was amazing. Like, I tell a story a lot about we go on training, need to be in for say 9:30, 9:45, and just one day we were sat and we're in Blackpool. It was like porta cabins. We just sat in a porta cabin, and he would just started talking about, rambling on what would happen the night before, just about life, about everything that was going on, the world, the government, and just talk about everything that we probably shouldn't be talking about. And he was still talking about it 3 hours later. It was 12:30, 1 o'clock, and we still hadn't trained. He just went on a rant, but the lads just like, they just bought into him. Do you know what I mean? He was a character. He was a manager. He loved his players. He was enthusiastic, and we were playing great football, and the lads just loved having them around. And No, he was great for me. He gave me a responsibility. He put an arm around me when I needed to, and he was phenomenal to work for.
Do you see? I mean, maybe not in terms of the tactical side of the game. We're seeing Man City through on goal.
Oh,
What a
finish!
What a goal! Wow! Wow! What a goal!
Tonight's the night, fellas. Tonight's
What
the
a
night.
statement from Man City this first half. 3-0. Oh.
Wow! Some
He's
goal
certainly
that, by the
done
way.
it.
Some goal that.
Phil Foden drops off to the wide area again. 1-2 round it. Robertson dives in. 1-2 Foden. Finish with the right foot.
So nice.
This kid is special.
Oh,
It's like
they
a
must have
FIFA
been
goal.
wounded.
Wow!
They must have been wounded by the events at Stamford Bridge last week, but Man City have come back in flying form at the start of this
Another
game.
assist for
Three
the
goals in
another
the first
assist for the
half.
King.
Oh,
Another assist
just
for the
frightening.
King.
Yeah, that's 17 for the season. He's just 3 off the record now. Pep Guardiola not celebrating that much. He knows the job's only half done, but 3-0 at home to Liverpool, and this will be their 3rd consecutive home victory over them. For the first time since 1937. Phil Foden with his 7th goal of the season. I mean, Joe, how impressed have you been with Phil Foden since the restart? That game against Burnley tonight as well. He's really stamping his authority on this team.
Oh, what a player. What a player City have in Phil Foden. Just one of those sort of special talents you've just got to take your hat off to if you're an opposition fan. But if you're a Man City fan, you've got to be excited. And I think the timing of his progress within this team is almost perfect for Man City with the departure of David Silva. You know, Pep's spoken about, hasn't he, how he's not going to sign a replacement for Silva because he's got Foden. And what a piece of confidence that must be for a young sort of 17, 18-year-old lad to hear Pep Guardiola say, you know, I'm not going to sign a replacement for one of the Premier League's best ever players.
Goodness me.
Because you're going to be my man. Just think he's a sensational talent, and he's only going to get better. And all I can say is thank God he's English, because he's exciting.
It's so exciting with the likes of Saka and obviously Greenwood coming through as well. What a time for young English talent and really getting a chance now. And what's so impressive about him is he's a midfielder that's so comfortable playing on the wing. He is like David Silva in that respect. David Silva very much started as a winger, and you can see him coming into midfield to dictate games as time goes on. But what a start from him. But yeah, 1 minute left in the first half. Man City 3-0 up against Liverpool. Charlie, I mean, what do you make of this as a statement of intent from Man City? I mean, how delighted will they be with the way this first half has gone?
They'll be delighted that they've been able to bounce back from obviously the disappointment of losing the league, and this is a chance here for Salah. Cross.
Whips it
Just
in.
a little bit of the story of Man City's season, this, isn't it? Like, fantastic going forward, but still you see those moments of vulnerability going backwards and 3-0 up, but Liverpool could have had 2, maybe 3 themselves.
They always will be when because they play so high and expansive. Like I said before, the spacing behind Mendy is there because he gallops on so much. But listen, this is a phenomenal first half for Man City. This is them at their best. Make no excuses for Liverpool. You know, obviously they had a couple of chances to sell early doors, but Man City have grabbed the grain by the scruff of the neck, and 3-0. It's a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've had 5 shots here at the Etihad, Man City, and they have scored 3 goals. They've been ultra clinical. Liverpool may be champions, but they will not be happy with how it's going at the Etihad for them. Man City, exacting, not revenge on how the season has gone, but what a statement of intent from them. Half-time here at the Etihad, and I believe we can see the match stats from the first half as well. Oh, I'm sorry, we'll see them in just a minute. But yeah, what a statement of intent from Man City. Pep Guardiola must be absolutely delighted. Joe, if you were Pep, obviously you've seen the strength of your attacking play in this half, but which defenders would you possibly look to bring in this summer? Are there any notable targets that they could look to bring in?
Well, I think it's very key to get a leader in that back line. I'm not sure they'll be looking too young. I think they struggled to replace Vincent Kompany's leadership at the back. That big old bottle of water for Doogie there.
Sorry,
I
having a
think they
swig.
struggled to replace Vincent Kompany's leadership at the back, and it's probably the reason they went for Harry Maguire in the summer to kind of address that, and obviously missed out on him, chose not to pay that exorbitant fee that Man United ended up playing. So I think he might be after a leader at the back. Maybe a Koulibaly. Obviously, his name's linked perennially with Manchester City, isn't it? So I wouldn't be overly surprised to see somebody like him come in. I think they could do a lot worse than somebody like Declan Rice. I know Declan Rice has been playing as a defensive midfielder for West Ham, but every time he's on the field, I think he looks like a leader in that West Ham team. I think he's the best player West Ham have got. And I think he could be a real asset in Man City's passing system at centre-half. I just think that because they pass out for the back so often and so fluidly, the ability to have Declan Rice being able to play as a defensive midfielder and a centre-back would really add something to Man City's game. So I think Declan Rice might be an option that I would look to explore, especially if West Ham get relegated. Then it's a no-brainer for me if they go down.
I like it. There will certainly be a lot of competition for Declan Rice's signature this summer, with whether West Ham go down or not. But guys, I've got a bit of a brain teaser for you now, a little halftime quiz. One question only. And it's when was the last time Liverpool were 3-0 down at halftime? What do you reckon, guys?
Oh, God. Champions League final.
Not the Champions League final. Anyone got any other guesses? I'll give you 10 seconds.
How far away are we? How far back are we talking? Are we
in
talking
the Premier League? This is in the Premier League only.
Okay.
One of you,
in the Premier League.
One of you might one of you should remember.
Was
Man
it
United.
against Man United?
No. Charlie, you were playing, mate.
Stoke
You were
City, last
smashing
game
them.
of the season, Stevie G. Last game of the season, Stevie G's
I'll
last
be
game.
5-0.
5-0.
Exactly. 6-1 win for
5-0
Stoke.
half time though. They were 5-0 down at half time, weren't they?
Oh,
5-0.
sorry, it was 3 goals. I rephrased the question, Paulie. It was 3 goals at or more, I should have said. Sorry.
We were
yeah,
celebrating
Charlie,
we won the league.
What a game to be involved
phenomenal.
in. What was that
brilliant.
like? I mean, Stevie G's last game.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal. The whole thing obviously was about Stevie, and we just come firing at the blocks. Even Man Juice managed to nick a couple of goals, so we knew we were going to win that day.
Did you feel any pangs of? Sorry, did you feel any pangs of guilt having played with Stevie? You obviously don't want him to see him leave that way.
No chance, absolutely not. There was a win bonus on show there, but no, we were 5-0 up, and it could have been 7 or 8. We battered Liverpool for that first 45 minutes. Going back, Emre Can was meant to be playing right back, and all I remember him was running on the left wing at one point, and I thought, what is going on here at Liverpool? Like, they were all over the place. And then obviously we ended up winning 5-1. It was that was a phenomenal day.
Yeah, the sort of day that you absolutely dream about as a young player, and particularly for a Stoke player at that time as well. What a result. Well, let's get some halftime questions in.
Yeah, one for you, Charlie, as well. Obviously, you played under some great managers as well, but the 2 on show tonight, just wondering who would be your preference playing under Pep or Jurgen Klopp?
Oh, no. I would love to play for both. But if you're talking about one,
get those splinters out your backside, Charlie Adams. Sitting on that fence too long. Come on.
Nah, listen. If I had to, I'd have to pick Pep. The way he wants to play, he would want to play through the middle, through me, and be able to pass it out wide, and build up attack. So I'd probably just edge it with Pep. But I love the enthusiasm of Klopp and how he sets his team up. But Pep's he's phenomenal, isn't he?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard choice to make, and Klopp's charisma, he'd probably edge it for me, but Pep, phenomenal as well, and we look quite similar, so that's a real bonus. Guys, we've got a VT for you now. Mo Salah being interviewed by Jamie Carragher. Obviously, he's still got a lot to achieve both personally and with the team for the rest of the season.
Mo Salah, Premier League champion. How does that sound?
That's great. Winning Premier League after a long time. after winning Champions League last year, so unbelievable.
How difficult was it on the back of last season going so close against Manchester City to sort of come back and do what you've done again? Shown great mental strength.
Yeah, I think I do remember last year, like the game against Man United away, when we draw. Like, I went to the dressing room. I put the towel in my head. I start crying because that's the moment I feel like we lost the Premier League. It's like, I think in that game, like Man City stepped to the first place. Then I felt, it's gonna be tough now because there's only a few games left. So, and you have to wait for them to draw games or something. Then when I look back to that, it's like, great, wow. It's unbelievable to win it this season after last season, because you lost it with 1 point. So it's crazy to lose the Premier League with 1 point. It's different. It's unbelievable.
There's a lot of games to go. What's left for the team? What's the focus or the mentality now to break all the records that are there to be broken?
I think this has been motivated. Otherwise, everyone go to the training he doesn't want to train or that things. But I think when you put target in your head and something motivates you more. So I think that's what motivates us right now is a record. We try to be unbeaten, but it's happening in Watford game. We can't change that. But now we have to go for the most point a season. I think that's a good motivation for us and can drive us to win the next few games.
Well, what's the motivation for Mo Salah? I know you love that golden boot, don't you? So is that something in the back of your mind that from a personal point of view?
Yeah, I can't lie, yeah.
You've won it twice on the bounce. Only Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer have won it 3 times, and they're maybe the 2 best strikers ever in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think in the back of my head I want really to break the record for the team points. Then if I will try my best to win the Premier to Golden Boot again.
Would you prefer the Golden Boot or the record points?
It's tough, but I have to choose the team one, which is Golden Boot.
I don't believe it. But listen, you mentioned before that some of the players would have liked to maybe beat Man City to try and win the league and win the league on the pitch. I mean, how tough do you think it'll be to beat Man City, considering that you're now league champions and Liverpool are the team to beat?
Yeah, I think it will be really tough because they've been champions of England for last 2 years and unbelievable team. They have great players, great manager, and I'm sure that they will do their best to win the game against us next one. So we will do our best also to win the game. I'm sure every fan around the world will be excited to watch the game, and I'm sure they will enjoy it.
Well, it looks like there could be a big rivalry between Liverpool and Man City, as there has been the last couple of years, maybe over the next few years as well. There's a big gap between the teams this season in the Premier League. Do you expect that to change a lot next season?
I'm sure they will come back strong, as they are now as well. But they struggled in a few games, and I don't know if they have injured or not. But we had a fantastic season. We've been really good, and I'm sure they will try to fight hard next season.
Okay, Mo. Well, good luck, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mo Salah there, already an absolute Liverpool legend for his work over the last 3 years. But as Jamie Carragher says, he is on for a 3rd Golden Boot. But my question to you, Charlie, is do you think he can do it? Who's going to win the Golden Boot this season?
Well, it's beside him, Vardy, Mane, Salah, sorry. I think he could get it. I think he will get it. He's been phenomenal since he's gone to Liverpool. His numbers have been incredible, and he's been phenomenal to actually get to the level he has, and to win 3 in a row would be amazing.
Yeah, he's only 2 off as it stands on 17. Joe, the favourite before the resumption was probably Jamie Vardy, but can you see him turning around his form now?
Dear me, I can't believe he was the favourite. I know that he's a couple clear. I think he was on 19, wasn't he, before the restart? But I think he's only scored 2 goals since the turn of the year, hasn't he? Obviously scored a lot at the start of the season and was running really hot. But no, I think if this Leicester form continues, he'll do really well. There's just a little bit too much reliance on him going forward for me. Everything kind of has to go through Jamie Vardy, and especially with James Maddison picking up a couple of injuries, I'd be surprised, but never discount him, because he's a sort of player that as soon as you write him off and he's down and out, he suddenly scores a hat-trick next week. So don't discount him. But for me, I think I agree with Charlie. I think Salah, I think Aubameyang as well might might sort of put in the odd display. Yeah, Danny Ings as well,
has
not
been
a bad shout.
Ings has been phenomenal this year as well, from what he come back from, and to score the amount of goals he scored in a team that's in the second half of the table it's phenomenal. So he has Danny Ings obviously has a chance as well, but going on what the chances that Liverpool create, I definitely think Salah can win it.
There we have it. Charlie Adam predicts Salah. Will, quickly, I know you're a betting man, a Sky Bet betting man. If you had to put some money on someone, who would you go for?
I think I'd go for Mo Salah. It might not win me it might not be the most extravagant bet I've ever had, Doogie, but he just looks phenomenal since the restart, and some of those finishes against Crystal Palace, and he's at the post again tonight where it could have snuck in. So yeah, Mo Salah for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a sound bet. Charlie, what do you think that speculation that Timo Werner was being looked at by Liverpool, what do you think that will do to the current front three? Do you think that will give them a bit of motivation?
Well, they're the three that are in charge of the jersey at the moment. They're in the driving seat. It's whoever comes in, if anybody comes in actually to boost the squad, it's their job to try and get to the level of Salah, Firmino, and Mane before they even get an opportunity in the team. So when you're a big club, and you want to try and win every trophy, then you need to have a big squad, a good squad. You see now at the moment, like Aguero's obviously injured now, but Jesus has had to sit half the season out because he, could easily play for Man City as a number 9. And the problem you have is like Werner, was he willing to come to Liverpool and sit on the bench because probably the front three were going to play every week? Definitely not. So that's why he's chosen probably to go to Chelsea. The rumours were that Liverpool didn't even want him. So it's a big decision. Unless Liverpool can go and get an Mbappe or somebody like that, it's going to be difficult to get somebody at the level of the front three that they have.
Yeah, for sure. And with the Africa Cup of Nations being delayed till 2022 now as well, there's less of a need to get that player in for next January. But let's have a look at the match stats from the first half at the Etihad. So obviously it's 3-0 to Man City, 1 yellow card apiece, and Man City have just been ultra clinical. So they've had 5 attempts to Liverpool's 4, got 3 on target and scored with all 3 of them. Possession has been very even, 52%. But yeah, Man City, story of the half, just being ultra clinical. And we're back. We've got the scenes in the tunnel. Liverpool will be desperate to not finish their season on a negative note. If you're getting beaten by the previous champions 3-0 at half-time, not a note that they'll want to finish on by any stretch of imagination. Charlie, if you were Jurgen Klopp, would you be looking to change anything? Is there anything you can do to motivate your players?
Yeah, just say, listen, you're the champions, lads. Oxlade-Chamberlain looks like he's coming on here to freshen things up, a bit more legs and energy in the team, trying to get something back from the game. So, it's a positive change. That's all you can do. The game's, an interesting one, because if Liverpool can nick one early and get it back to 3-1, then they'll have half a chance. But if Man City go and score another goal, then it's game over, and it could be anything really after that.
Yeah, Liverpool fans will obviously be delighted with how their season's gone. All they wanted is the Premier League title, but they certainly won't want to be beaten in emphatic fashion at the Etihad. And we're seeing news that it was Joe Gomez that's coming off for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, which must mean quite a change of formation for Liverpool here. They're really going for it. Will, before we kick off the second half, do we have any questions?
Yes, Charlie, obviously you mentioned your Blackpool days and how close you were to some of your former teammates. Ian Everett's gone in at Bolton. What a chance and what a job he could do down there.
No, I'm delighted for him. I spoke to him yesterday. He's buzzing with it. It's an opportunity that, he's worked hard the last 2 years at Barrow, taking Barrow, from basically nowhere to into League Two, first time 50 years, long time. And he's done a great job and, deserves it. It's a club like Bolton who have struggled for a number of years, obviously off the pitch financially. Seems to be in a good place off the pitch, and it's a blank canvas for him to go in there and actually get his own team involved and get a way of playing that probably Bolton have not seen for a few years.
Yeah, my Bolton friend who's a massive Bolton fan is very pleased with that move. I have to tell you. Joe, I want to know from you. Oh, Edison coming off his line superbly again, although he has he's gone out for a throw-in now. Joe, do you think it's a risk for Jurgen Klopp to not make a massive move in the window this summer, considering they only really brought in Harvey Elliott and Adrian last summer?
I don't think he needs to make a massive move. I don't think he's going to go out and spend 200 million pounds on a player. I don't think that's necessary, and it's definitely not going to happen now. COVID-19's happened, but I do think that they need to freshen up in some areas. I think maybe a few players are quite comfortable in their jerseys, and I'm sure that Jurgen will want pressure on them. I think that is effectively what makes players perform even better, is being worried about their position. I think it wouldn't do any harm to have another top level forward that wants one of those shirts and pushes the likes of Salah and pushes Firmino for starting berths every single week. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a player come in to do that. But I don't think it'll be a top-level player. I think it's more likely to be in the mould of a Shaqiri who they bought in, or a Divock Origi who's young and can push on over the next few years, because they don't need to spend £100 million in those positions. They've already got the world's best players in there. They need players for the future. So Timo Werner not signed didn't overly surprise me. I just think that they'll probably more likely to go for a Buendia or somebody like that out of Norwich, who's got a good pedigree and is going to cost 5 to 10 million rather than 50 to 100.
Would you take somebody like Callum Wilson?
I think if I was Jurgen, I'd be maybe a little bit worried about Callum Wilson's injury record, to take Callum Wilson specifically.
Would you go and buy Danny Ings back?
There we go.
I think if Danny Ings in the same way, I think I would also be a bit worried about his injury record.
You could say that about every player's injury record.
I mean, those two specifically have had such bad ones, haven't they? It'd be a tough one. I wouldn't go for those two if I was Jurgen Klopp, but I think he'll definitely dip into some of those relegation sides. If Aston Villa go down, I think he could do a lot worse than beating a Man United or a Tottenham to Jack Grealish. That's for sure.
Yeah, or potentially like a Jamal Lewis from Norwich. They need a backup left back. There's quite a lot of talent potentially going down. I mean, West Ham's team, there's plenty of talent. Felipe Anderson. You think Lanzini's probably Premier League quality on his day, although it does.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're
definitely not Liverpool quality. They're good players, but they ain't going to get a game in Liverpool. No.
I'm not sure anyone would have said Andy Robertson was definitely Liverpool quality before he got there, though.
But now he's there and he's at that level.
But he showed the right pedigree to be a Liverpool player. The way Liverpool played, the way Klopp played.
Oh my goodness me!
That is howling. What have he done?
He could play that position, that left back who could bomb on and things like that. So, definitely. Listen, that's why they've got a recruitment team that are probably spending hours and hours on players and trying to get the gems in. But they've got some young players coming through. Harvey Elliott is very good. I like. Nico Williams will push Trent Alexander at right back. So I think the more they'll have to worry about is the ones that might leave. Origi or say Shaqiri might leave if he wants to go and play some games somewhere, and they have to obviously replace that.
And I think if they lose, Adam Lallana's probably going to leave. I think they could do a lot worse than Todd Cantwell out of Norwich. I think Todd Cantwell would be a good pickup for them because Norwich are going to go down. And they're going to need the finances, and he's a very good age profile, looking to improve, and he would not say no to Liverpool, would he?
But I know, but like to do what is he just going to sit on the bench?
I think you would you not accept that if you were Todd Cantwell and think you could battle for a berth maybe in a couple years time?
But like you say, what a block! Cantwell's a good player, I like him, but if I'm looking at maybe a Newcastle or something like that, would Newcastle maybe look at taking him? That's the next step to go, and then if he does well at Newcastle, then maybe a Liverpool could take him to get more experience in the Premier League.
A bit more of a stepping stone club.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast this week with Stuart Webber, the Norwich director of football, who actually used to work at Liverpool. It's a phenomenal listen, by the way. I'd highly recommend it. It was on The Athletic. And he was saying
an interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah, fascinating. And he was just saying that we've really made it clear to our young players that don't run before you can walk in terms of these big moves, because he didn't actually specify who, but he said that they sold a young player a couple of years ago who was then calling them up 6 months later crying on the phone saying that he wanted to come back on loan. So he was just saying, the likes of Aarons, Jamal Lewis, Todd Cantwell, Buendia, don't rush away. We've also seen some talents really prosper from another couple of years in the Championship as well. I mean, I wanted to ask you, Charlie, Said Benrahma is a player that's been getting a lot of press for his performances at Brentford in the Championship. What have you made of his performances, and do you think he could be ready for a Premier League move?
Yeah, definitely. He's a good player. Watched him the other night against us. He comes and drifts into holes in pockets where it's very difficult to mark. If it's a fullback, you either think, do I go and push in with him, and then the fullback bombs on, or do if he can get the ball in between the line? He's a terrific player. He's one of the best players in the Championship, and let's say it wouldn't be surprising if a Premier League club came for him if, say, Brentford never got up.
Yeah, no, I think he'll definitely be on the move this summer. He was always linked with Arsenal last year, which didn't quite happen. Will, while we're on the topic of Championship stars, likes of Ollie Watkins have been heavily talked about as well. Are there any other names that you've seen through watching Birmingham that you think they're ready for that step up?
There's a lot of Brentford, even the left back. I think Rico Henry as well could kick on going forward as well, and they just seem to have a plethora of talent down there.
Yeah, the big defender Pinnock was left centre back. Pinnock, he played against us, was at non-league, and come through. He played really comfortable on the ball, probably 6'4", quick. He's probably the next one that might actually get a move to the Premier League. I really liked him when he played against us the other night. He showed some good signs of good attitude and comfortable on the ball. So now he's one that might get a move somewhere else if Brentford don't go up. But if they do go up, then going into a new stadium, it's a good place to play, Brentford.
Well, even Calvin Phillips as well was talked about getting an England call up when he was in the Championship as well. So I think, again, Leeds should do it, but stranger things have happened. So it'd be great to see him in the Premier League next year.
Charlie, you're talking there about a player breaking through in Pinnock Wood. I wanted to know, obviously, you having broken through yourself so spectacularly at Rangers, what is crucial for a player in that sort of phase of their development? Is it trust to their manager? Is it game time? Is it keeping your feet on the ground? What makes a developing player take that next step?
Well, I think it's the biggest. You've got to trust your manager that he's doing the right thing for you. And like I said, if the manager puts you in for a few games and then takes you out for the good of yourself, it's not.
What's he done?
He's missed it.
Stadio.
What a plan.
Henderson with a beautiful ball through.
He doesn't mean it, does he? He doesn't mean it.
He's just walked over it. How has he done that?
I think he's tangled his legs. His legs have sort of got tangled, haven't it? Oh, he's missed. What a chance.
It's not been Sadio Mane's best game in front of goal. He obviously missed that. But it was pretty much a sort of one-on-one in the first half as well. Didn't quite get his feet right on that one either. But a massive chance for Liverpool to get a foothold in this game. But as we see, Phil Foden just walking through the defence again. Gets a shot off, well saved by Alisson, although it was straight at him.
Just go back to going coming through. Yes. I think it's a bit of both. Like what Stuart Webber said, don't try and run before you can walk. Just trust that what you're doing is right. The manager, is doing the right thing for you, and then the opportunity will come to get that move. But I believe that I say to young kids, if there's an opportunity to go on loan and play, you got to go and play. You ain't gonna just sit around and Phil Foden's a different example. He's training with top quality, world class players every day, so he's going to get better from that. So it's every individual, every young kid is different in how they develop. But for me, I think going and playing games is definitely one that I would recommend to anybody.
Mane through. He's appealing for a penalty.
Penalty.
He's given it. Penalty.
Free
Has
kick,
he?
is it?
He's
Is
giving it for
outside,
a
I think.
push on Mane's back.
He's given it outside.
Good
Yeah,
game,
right.
red card,
Oh, is he
wasn't
giving a free kick? Oh, this
Red
is where you
card,
need
maybe?
comms. Never mind. Will be the comms. Is it outside?
Yeah,
It's
a
a
yellow
What a
card,
ball by
either
Jordan
way.
Henderson, by the way. What a pass by Jordan Henderson. This is to set this ball up.
that's Henderson that kind of passed the ball, isn't it?
Oh my, that is weak.
Is that a bit
that is.
soft? I think that's
Two
soft.
quality penalties.
Charlie
quality
Adam, you'd
passes
be
he's played
absolutely fuming.
Charlie, I mean,
What,
what's
for
your
the-
thoughts on
what,
this?
with
Is
the
this
pa-
pretty
the pass-
soft?
I think it was a quality pass, but no, it's a push in the back. It's a foul.
Are you
It is a
sure?
foul.
Oh, that's the Liverpool in you
Yeah,
there,
it's
Charlie.
foul.
That looks a bit of a...
No penalty.
He's
that's
gone
it.
down easy there.
What?
No foul.
No foul.
He does have a
He's
bit of a
saying free
sneaky
kick.
reputation for that occasionally, Mane.
If that was Martial, you'd be screaming for that.
Oh.
Here we go, Alexander. There's
It's
that
still
bet for
a,
outside
still
the
a
box,
booking for Walker,
Alexander.
but it's
he
a
read
free
that
kick
bet. Trent
outside the
Alexander
area.
Arnold outside the box.
I mean, Charlie,
He
you
was
to one.
33 to
He
1.
was,
That was at the
yeah,
start
he
of
was.
the game.
Get on that with Sky Bet right now. Be 18 plus and gamble responsibly, of course. Charlie, you knew you had to take a free kick and still do. I mean, how impressed with you are you with Trent's technique?
His techniques. You know what I love about free kick takers when you go back to your Beckhams or Roberto Carlos or is it that everybody's totally different. Do you know what I mean? Like Trent, he has his own routine. He gets into focus. He gets in a zone.
Oh, it's just gone wide.
And then
Too
you
smart
know,
there.
yeah, I was trying to hang it. You look at Rooney yesterday against Preston. He goes and whips one
What's a hit?
the opposite side. You know, just quality. Like, and that's what I love about the game. It's just everybody's different how they set themselves up and the different techniques. Brilliant.
Charlie, do you think we were going to see more top level like young players like Brewster's at Swansea right now, but before maybe 10 years ago we wouldn't see Premier League managers let their players go to the Championship because of the style of play, but we're seeing more of that now?
Listen, the Championship is the third or fourth best watched league in the world, so you know it's what an opportunity for these young kids to go and play. If you look at, you know, Liverpool have sent Brewster there because they know the coaching staff, Mike Marsh and the manager there, so that's why Brewster's gone there. They play a good way of playing. I'm surprised that Man City or like Liverpool have not sent the kids to a Brentford where they like to pass it and play and get into that way. You know, it's just different, but it's you all see players going to the Championship. There's nothing wrong with going lower than that, than League One, League Two if there's opportunities, because like I say, there's no better way of playing the Saturday, 3 o'clock, trying to go and win football games.
Yeah, 100%. We're close to the 60-minute mark now, and we've just seen Riyad Mahrez come on for Gabby Jesus. So, Pep doesn't have a lot of options at number 9 at the moment, but he's going out-and-out strikerless at the moment, and it seems like Raheem Sterling is taking up that most central position, although Mahrez closing down like a madman there. I forgot to bring it to you earlier as well. Since Gomez went off at half-time for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, it's Fabinho that's gone into the centre of defence. So it seems like Klopp is slightly, well, not necessarily punishing Gomez for their defensive errors of the first half, but he obviously gave away that penalty on Sterling when he just couldn't let go of him for about 10 seconds in the box. Quite foolish from an otherwise pretty error-prone centre-back this season. Joe, on the topic of Riyad Mahrez, how impressed with him have you been this season? Because he, had some critics after his first season in Manchester.
Yeah, quite harsh critics as well, because he is just a phenomenal player, isn't he? And I definitely think he's benefited from not having the pressure of Leroy Sané breathing down his neck every single week, because he's got that Robin-esque quality. If you know what he's going to do, he's going to cut in and hit it with his left every time, but it's almost impossible to stop. And he's got a lot more trust from Pep Guardiola this season, and I think his quality's really shone through. So fair play to Riyad Mahrez for sticking with the battle, because some people, you're right, did write him off. And I think now he's probably one of their key forwards, and it just shows you the depth of Manchester City, maybe even comparatively to a Liverpool, that they can just bring Riyad Mahrez on. Look at Liverpool now, maybe that front three starting to tire a little bit, and they look to the bench. they don't see a Riyad Mahrez sat there. And that's definitely something I've noticed since we've recommenced football, that the bigger sides, the depth is really shining through with the 5 substitutions. You know, when Man United can look to the bench and bring on top quality players, and some of the smaller teams just don't have that ability.
And that's where Liverpool, I think, have done extremely well winning the league, because Man City are trying to overplay again. There we go, chance.
Great for
Firmino. Blocked again.
And that's where I think that Man City have done, Liverpool have done extremely well with the squad they had, because it's been the same 14, 15 players, really, isn't it? Somebody like a Milner or Lovren might have come in, Oxlade-Chamberlain's played a few games, but apart from that, it's been the same team majority of the season. Unlucky.
Yeah, they've
done
so well with a comparatively small used squad in terms of the minutes played, at least. Those front 3 in particular have consumed the majority of the minutes, particularly in the second half of the season. But we're now past the 61st minute mark here. Man City still 3-0 up. And if you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to Football Daily and Soccer AM. We do these live streams all the time, sponsored by Sky Bet. And we're seeing Bobby Firmino go off and Naby Keita come on. Charlie was talking about him earlier, having struggled to adapt and really stamp his authority on this Liverpool side. Big moments for him. And Origi has come on for Firmino. It's Wijnaldum that's come off for Naby Keita. So a big end to the match for them. Will, we're in the final 30 minutes of this game. Let's get another question in.
Yes, another one for you, Charlie. Lots of questions coming in for you. Obviously, you're at Reading now. Do you know your plans for next season? Because I saw the old transfer rumours tingling with maybe you reuniting with Stevie G at Rangers.
Oh, like it.
No, I just made that one up.
No, obviously it's. I think every summer since he's been there, some people have thought I might go back. I don't know what's going to happen yet. I'm going to play these next 6 games and see what happens. I've enjoyed my time here so far, and we'll see what it comes up. Listen, I've had a couple of options at the moment. We'll see what comes around when the season's done, and looking forward to see what the future holds.
Just on your on working at Reading as well, obviously a man of this parish, John O'Shea, was on the show at the start of the year. What's it like to? What's he like as a coach?
He's been brilliant. I think he's adapted to the role really well. I think he seemed to be enjoying it. Listen, when he talks, why don't we want to listen to his, the stories, the experiences he's had playing for Ireland and winning the European Cup with Man United, winning Premier Leagues. So it's a great experience for him to be around the place, and I just like to see him. The coaching he does is good, and he'll eventually become a very good manager.
Yeah, what a lovely guy from what I've seen from him on the Football Social, and what a player he was, not just at Man United as well. He was phenomenal for Sunderland for quite a while in a not very good side. Charlie, I wanted to ask you, obviously you've got a lot of happy memories from your time at Rangers. Would it mean a lot for you to go back there?
Oh, listen, I would. It's a wonderful club. One of the biggest clubs in Europe. Listen, it'd be very hard to turn down, but at the moment, that's probably gone. But you never know in football; anything could change. But you can never refuse that. It's where I started. The club's on the up. They got a top manager, and the pressure's on them for next season to have to stop 10 in a row. And maybe a bit of experience they might help them along the way.
Yeah, a massive challenge to stop that 10 in a row. Chris Hamill, who's on our team, has been talking about it for years now, so that has got to come to an end before that. But at the 64th minute mark here, Liverpool, it looks like they're going to have their second league defeat of the season, unless there is an incredible comeback. Obviously only lost that one game so far against Watford, and dropping further points to Everton and Man United. But there is, no shame in losing to this Man City side, although the nature of this result will put a big dampener in their morale after that famous title win. I mean, Joe, what do you think Jurgen Klopp's reaction will be to this performance and result?
I think he'll be honest, won't he? I think that Liverpool have had their chances in the game and probably not taken them on the counter-attack. And Manchester City have just taken their chances more so. I don't think it's been a 3-0 game, to be totally honest. It's been quite an even affair. It's just that Man City's finishing has been so clinical. You just won't want it to become 4 or 5, will it? It could become 5 now. It should become 5. It will become 5. Or 4, sorry. 4.
That might go down as an own goal. We've yet to see whether it was on target from Sterling. Fantastic work from KDB.
Wow.
Fantastic run from KDB. Gives it through to Sterling, cuts inside and finishes low into the corner. I mean, Charlie, do you think Liverpool are just too open here?
Away from home, it's far too open. But listen, there's no many players in the world who would have seen that pass. That is phenomenal, and I man the match already. 65 minutes gone. De Bruyne, thank you very much. He's been absolutely phenomenal tonight. That's world class. World class.
I'm getting minus 20 for Virgil van Dijk in my fantasy team.
Yeah. Oh, and it's turning into a pretty ugly result for Liverpool away at the Etihad. They obviously haven't had a great record at the Etihad in recent years, but we have seen some awesome games between these two in terms of high-scoring affairs, and this has been another one. As Joe rightly points out, Liverpool have had their chances, but just failed to take them at the crucial points. And when you've got two players in De Bruyne and Foden, who I think have been the standouts today, it really has been pretty easy for Man City to cut through Liverpool's defence. It's been almost bizarre in that fashion. I mean, Will, what are the fans making of this in the comments? They must be bemused.
Yeah, lots of a bit of shock and awe in the comments, to be honest. Obviously, Man City doing really well and kicking on. But Charlie, for you, I know it's very, very easy to say, but there does feel like there's a bit of just a few inches in it. Is that down to a bit of partying?
No, that was last Thursday. That's
well, it depends how much you like the sesh, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but like, what's worst case? These lads they've been on the booze Thursday, Friday. Do you know what I mean? It's not that bad. They've had 4 or 5 days to recover. I don't think they'll make that an excuse. I think that they'll just listen. They've been beaten by a phenomenal team that on the day can do this to anybody. And it doesn't matter if you're Liverpool or Real Madrid. Man City could open you up like this. I just think Jurgen will be disappointed in how the goals have come. Liverpool have been far too open for their liking, but it's been, like I said before, Man City could do this to anybody.
Charlie, I wanted to know from you, I mean, on the topic of booze and celebrations, what was it like after that Carling Cup win in 2012? I mean, was anyone leading the way on terms of the beers?
Oh, we all had a few beers. It was we got the train back to Liverpool, and then we went to a hotel and we enjoyed ourselves, had a few drinks, and it was that isn't it? You can do that. You can enjoy yourself when you win trophies, and that absolutely you're entitled to. Liverpool are entitled to go and. I remember a few years ago when I was at Rangers, as a young lad. The Rangers lads, they won the league, and the Scottish Cup final was the following week, and they went on it for 4 days. So they went Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and they played the cup final, and they won the Saturday. It was phenomenal. But you can't get away with that nowadays. You know what I mean?
But they were sweating so much after about 10 minutes. All the alcohol just dripping out their system.
The lad said after about 45, 60 minutes, said,
"Oh, is it?"
So much the cramp just kicked in.
Charlie, what was a better party, the Blackpool promotion party or the Liverpool Carling Cup one?
Well, the thing about the promotion party was that I ended up in bed early because about midnight because I was so drained, and I was like, the whole game had just taken its toll on you. And I never said to people before, and probably never enjoyed it like I should. We enjoyed the semi-final win against Nottingham Forest more. We ended up back in the
crazy game,
casino.
wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously the second leg we beat them. I think it was 4-2, 4-3, and we ended up back in the casino till 5-6 o'clock in the morning after the game, celebrating as if like we'd been promoted to the Premier League. But it was good times. You've got to enjoy these moments, And I don't think Liverpool can make an excuse that, you know, the celebrations took its toll. I just think they've been beaten from a better team tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after 30 years, they are very much worthy of quite a few drinks. And I'm sure we'll come back to celebrations in just a minute. But guys, I've got a price boost for you guys as we enter the 70-minute mark. Let's have a look at it. What are we saying? Man City to win 6-0. 2 more goals in the final 20 minutes. Was 12-1, now 14-1. Odds accurate at the time of recording and are subject to change. You've got to be 18 plus to bet on that. Please gamble responsibly. Will, do you fancy a couple more goals in this one? You were saying a thriller beforehand.
I mean, yeah, but I thought there'd be a few goals for both teams. I mean, Manchester United just looks so clinical, and when KDB gets in that final third, I mean, I'm not even seeing the passages are playing. We've got full screen here, so he's just an absolute magician, isn't he? Like Charlie said. So I think, yeah, Liverpool. Obviously, the boos would rule that one out, but they do look a little bit off the pace. So yeah, maybe 6-0 is a very good shout.
Yeah, there we have it. 14-1 with Sky Bet. Please gamble responsibly. Joe, when you watch a performance like this from Man City, can you see it being anything other than a 2-horse race next year in the Premier League?
Not really. I think Chelsea have got a long way to go to get to this level yet, and it's not like you can just have. I think what people don't realise is how long the bedding in process takes for some of these players when you sign them. It's not as if Chelsea can go out and sign 3 or 4 players and expect all 4 of them to hit the ground running and suddenly close a 20-point gap. So I'd be very surprised if it's not these 2 yet again next season. I definitely think the gap between City and Liverpool will shrink because Pep is such a perfectionist, and he will want a lot more out of his team, and I'm sure he'll want a lot more in terms of signings in the summer, and he'll probably get them from his boardroom. So I expect the gap to shrink, but yeah, I can't see Chelsea closing the gap that much. I think they'll put the pressure on potentially in that 3rd spot, and Man United the same. But the gap's too big, and you've got to think that players need betting in time. Pep, as long as Pep stays, it's going to be these 2.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think as long as Klopp and Pep are there, it's going to be a 2-horse race for the Premier League titles. But we have seen some titanic clashes over the years, and these 2 always put on a show when they're on the pitch together. So we're excited to see what the future holds. I mean, Charlie, we were watching the drinks break there, and Pep, his side are 4-0 up, but he's berating his attacking players. He's getting in Sterling's face. How would you react as a player if you were so comfortable in a game and your manager's still pushing you further?
Brilliant. That's a sign of top professional. Don't let your standards drop. He'll be probably telling his team, we want 5 and 6 here. We want to dominate this game and show them that we are a good team. And that's the relentlessness. That's what Man United had in the olden days. I remember playing against Man United, or back in the day, or Chelsea when they had Drogba up front. When it was 3 or 4-0, you could hear them screaming like, "We want more goals. We need more goals." And when you're trying to win leagues and titles, their goals make a difference. And he'll be saying, keep the standards high, and he'll be desperate for them not to concede a goal as well. So that's the standards that Pep set. And he'll be looking for 5 and 6 here if he can.
Yeah, you're so right about the standards. I mean, these 2 teams between them have won 7 of the last 8 domestic trophies that have been awarded. The only blip in that time, Chelsea's FA Cup win in 2018. They really are setting new standards for the league. Charlie, I wanted to know from you, I mean, you played in the Premier League for a long, long time and very successfully, but who was the best side that you ever came up against?
But against some good ones. I think the Chelsea side back in the day were strong. They had everything: Drogba, Lampard, Terry. But if you look at Man City, when they had Yaya, they had, Aguero, David Silva when he was, a few years younger. I'd say Chelsea. Chelsea were an all-round top team with players that could hurt you. Hazard, Willian, they were phenomenal.
Fabregas as well, I imagine. Yeah,
Fabregas,
such a plethora of options down the years. Charlie, who was the one player that you played against that you really always had such a difficult time against?
Well, obviously, you've obviously got the big ones. I asked this question quite a few times. The big ones are the top players are top players. But if you're going for somebody that you probably wouldn't think of, I would go for somebody like a Scott Parker, who was
really
dynamic. Yeah, he was always in your face, never gave you time on the ball. He was, like a rash. Very good technical player. You remember that period when he went through when he was playing for England? He was phenomenal, and I would probably say I would say Scott Parker out with your usual ones that you would come up against.
Yeah, Scott Parker was Football Writers Player of the Year, I think, one year. He was absolutely incredible, I think, around 2012, 2013. We've just seen Nico Williams come on for Trent Alexander-Arnold. He obviously had a very successful cameo against Crystal Palace the other day, and he's already involved in play, threading the ball through to Salah. Good save from Edison Lowe to his right. We've got 15 minutes left in this game. I don't think anyone would have predicted the scoreline. 4-0 to Man City. If you're joining us for the first time, please remember to subscribe to both Football Daily and Soccer AM, because I'm sure we're not done yet in terms of drama. Will, let's get another question in.
Yeah, speaking of drama and title races, Charlie, the one at the Championship is still not done yet. Leeds and West Brom in the driving seat, but Brentford and Fulham pushing. Which three teams do you think will go up?
Well, I think West Brom and Leeds will automatically go up. And it depends on how it's drawn. If Brentford end up with a Cardiff or something in the semi-final, I think Cardiff would actually beat Brentford over 2 legs. I think they could sort of maybe bully them a little bit overpowerful. But if it was, Brentford will outpass any team in the league. You've seen that against Fulham the other day. They dominate possession. They can score goals. So it just depends on who Brentford get. But if they get the right team that I think they will, I think Brentford could get that third spot.
That'd be absolutely brilliant. Joe, I wanted to ask you, we saw the news yesterday that, Sky Sports were reporting that Man United aren't prepared to pay any more than £50 million for Jadon Sancho. Is that just paper talk for you? And do you see Man United shelling out the big bucks we were thinking they would for Jadon Sancho this summer?
Look, I think Man United are going to be very interested in Jadon Sancho. And I think if they'd have come out and said, if the basic rule of negotiating is you don't reveal your hand straight from the off, and if United come out and go, okay, we're willing to start an opening bid 120 million, then suddenly you're getting run up to 150, 160. So I think it's just a smart little negotiation tactic from Man United, just going, look, okay, we're not going to be paying over the odds. Saw the same thing happen with Bruno Fernandes. I think Sporting Lisbon wanted close to 90 million for him when negotiations got underway. That's what the media was saying anyway, and United kind of bit back, didn't they? So we're not paying over 40, and it ended up settling about 55, didn't it? So United got a fairly good deal there, and I think you're probably just seeing the same thing. It's just a smart bit of negotiation. I think Jadon Sancho's options, in my opinion, are fairly limited this summer. I think he's very keen to come back to the Premier League, like Charlie said earlier, and Pep denounced him coming back yesterday, didn't he? He said that he wouldn't have him back after he left the club, didn't want to battle for his place like Phil Foden did. So he's not going to go there. I think Chelsea, that's probably door closed. Now Timo's gone there and the links with Kai Havertz. I don't see Liverpool shelling out that much money for a player like Jadon Sancho. I think they're much more likely to go for a more classic number 9. So I think his options are really limited, to be honest with you, Jadon Sancho. And Dortmund may end up just saying, okay, we'll deal at 90. I think that is probably a more realistic fee for Man United.
Yeah, 90 million pounds for Jadon Sancho seems like a lot this summer, but I'm pretty sure they'll more and pay back that investment. I think it's 33 goal contributions in the league alone this season, just quite frightening. And we've seen the frightening depth that Pep Guardiola's got at his disposal just now as well. He's brought on Bernardo Silva for Raheem Sterling and Otamendi for Laporte as well.
Unreal.
This game's got about 11 minutes left. Not as end-to-end as it was to begin with, but who could have predicted this scoreline before the game? And Liverpool, their 2 defeats this season have come whilst conceding 7 goals and scoring 0. No one would have predicted that one against Watford, but the manner of this has been pretty worrying as well. Although, as we've said numerous times, 30-year wait for a title wrapped up, their fans won't care one jot. This is just one to put down as an aberration. Will, let's get another question in with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, Charlie, I was going to say it's one from the comments, but I've written it down myself. We talked about Stoke earlier, and one player that was close to my heart was Jack Butland. Obviously, when he left, had some great start to his career at Stoke, and obviously and the England call-up as well. But last season and a half, his form's just dropped off. Like, one, can we see it come back? And two, what do you think it's down to?
Well, it's obviously, individual errors you can't stand for. He's unfortunate. He's a goalkeeper. If he makes an error, it normally leads to a goal. I just think that the whole team's been struggling, and he's been part of that. So I just think that, listen, he's still a top goalkeeper, and definitely can still play in the Premier League. I'd be surprised to see a club maybe not coming in the Premier League, coming to take him as maybe a number 2 to fight for a number 1 position. He's still got that CV. He can still be able to play in the Premier League. He just maybe needs a fresh start, and this summer this might be the one. But I definitely think they'll be desperate to try and keep Stoke up and leave on good terms. The money they were talking a few years ago won't be at the level that they were getting now, but. He's definitely. What a chance! Wide. What a chance that
ball
was!
In, and Kevin De Bruyne has a header on pretty much quite far out. It's a phenomenal ball in.
What a pass from Mahrez!
De Bruyne is the edge of the box, and Alisson comes off his line.
De Bruyne probably could have took that down in his chest. But going back to Butland, if I'm Stoke and they are safe, it looks like they'd probably sell him next summer, and he'll probably have to go to the Premier League as a number 2 first and push maybe a Burnley for Nick Pope or something like that, or somebody like that. I don't know, but he's definitely still got the capabilities and the qualities to play in the Premier League.
Maybe if Dean Henderson doesn't get sent back on loan to a Sheffield United, that sort of location. Chris Wilder,
that's something.
Afraid to step into the Championship.
Like that. Yeah, definitely somebody like that would interest him. He's still young. He's got Premier League experience, so it'd be good to see him back there. But he needs to focus on trying to keep Stoke in the Championship first.
Yeah, I hope it works out for him. He always comes across as such a nice guy when he's interviewed. Just not had the best of it times recently. Just like Alisson there, trying to clear the ball.
Yeah, great lad in the dressing room. Works hard every day in training, and just maybe he just needs to change the scenery and freshen up his career and move on somewhere else.
Yeah, so we are gone past the 83rd minute mark here. Man City leading Liverpool 4-0, newly crowned champions Liverpool. I mean, Charlie, what have you made of Liverpool's performance tonight? Have they just not taken their chances, or has there just been a slight drop-off in their usual intensity? I mean, what would you put this down to?
They started the game well. They had 2 or 3 chances early doors, and they never took that. And Man City have punished them. Man City have been phenomenal tonight, and some days you have an off day, and tonight Liverpool have had an off day, and they've been beaten by a much better team.
Charlie, I wanted to ask you about the end of your time at Liverpool, because obviously it only lasted that one season. You played very well in lots of games. You reached 2 finals, but you made the decision, from what I've read, pretty much personally, to make the decision to leave. I mean, what was your thinking behind that, and was it a gut wrench to move on so quickly?
It was. Listen, it was a decision I made because I wanted to play football. I got told I wasn't going to play, and the person I am, the character I am, I want to play football games, and I made the decision I had to leave. In hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, I probably could have sat there for another year or 6 months and seen what develops, but when there's an opportunity to go and play football, there is no better feeling than playing this Saturday, and that's what I made the decision in the end. and that's what it was.
Fair enough. I mean, did you have any regrets? I mean, obviously you achieved a lot at Stoke as well, but any regrets about leaving the shiny gates of Anfield?
Like you said, probably moved too early. Maybe should have sat it out. But knowing the person I am, the player, why would I want to sit round and just sit on the bench or be in the stand watching when I got an opportunity to go and play in the Premier League at another club, and they looked after me well. It was a good club. I had a good time there, and no, I don't regret it. I had 7-8 years at Stoke, and if I had to do it again, I'd do the same move. It's all about learning and using your experience from what you've done in the past.
100%. And as I say, enjoyed a lot of success at Stoke, numerous top half finishes, lovely football at times, and absolutely got your revenge on Liverpool in that game we've already talked about in Stevie G's last game. Although you probably didn't see it as revenge, but we've got Liverpool on the attack here. Oh, it's broken to... Oh, no. Just didn't quite land on him. There's been so many of those near misses, Joe. It feels like nothing's quite landed for Liverpool tonight.
Yeah, it's just a lack of clinical finishing, maybe some poor first touches in the final third have just let them down, but they've definitely created some chances. I mean, even looking back on that Salah hitting the post chance and the amount of time Sadio Mane got in and behind in the first 20 minutes, I think of plenty of Liverpool chances, just that Man City have just been so ridiculously clinical. That front line has just been phenomenal. Raheem Sterling's taken his chances really well, and the one thing that City do have that maybe Liverpool don't is that Kevin De Bruyne, a midfield figure who can just create a chance out of nothing. I think maybe Liverpool are a little bit more reliant on the fullbacks to do that. So I just would give Kevin De Bruyne the man of the match. I think he's just a sensational player, the best centre mid in world football.
I think it's very difficult to argue with that as the man of the match award and the best midfielder in world football, to be honest. He's just so comfortable receiving the ball in any position, deceptively quick, amazing with both feet, such a good set piece taker. I think he's just one of the top 5 players in the world, to be honest. Robertson with a chance from a corner. Liverpool. Edison comes out and gets a touch on it, and it goes away. Jan Cancelo now clears it. Will, what are the Liverpool fans making of this in the comments? Are they pretty upset, or is it just sort of accepting that they've come up against the better side tonight?
Well, they're quite quiet, Duke, in the comments on the stream so far, so I don't think they're too bothered. Probably still nursing the hangover from the Premier League celebration.
They're still celebrating, that's why.
Yeah. Have you got any questions for us, Will, from the fans?
Yes, Charlie, one for you. There's a former teammate of yours that has a certain podcast which you became unwittingly star of the last 6 months. It was one that had me on the edge of my seat, finding out who was parched. That was you.
Yeah.
Can you talk me through it?
Yeah, I can do. So what happened was, obviously, because I want to, as a player, you want to ask questions to the manager or the coaching staff, and I like to ask the questions like if it's about if we're doing a possession or what we're actually doing the training or what the reasons are, and just general chit chat, because I want to coach hopefully when I finish playing, and just learning experiences from these people that have done it for a number of years, and obviously it must have been quite a regular thing that the lads picked up on, and the big man's named me. A few of them named me Parch, and it was, I never knew what it was. And it was one of the groundsmen at Reading said to me, by the way, do you know anything about this Parched? I says, what are you talking about? I says, oh, it's on Crouch's podcast and that. And I says, I don't have a clue. I says, I'll text him and ask him and that. Well, I was thinking, I never even asked. I never even texted him and asked him and that. And all of a sudden, my mate texts me saying, I was playing golf and I come off the golf course, and my mate's in the car with me and said, by the way, do you know you're even money for this Crouchy podcast for Parched? And I went, I need to text Crouchy and ask him this. What is it? So I texted him and he'd come out and he went, you know what it's like, didn't he? He's like, Chaz. There was a few of us in the, like, never even took the blame himself. He went, there's a few of us in the club. You know what it's like we were all sitting having a drink pre-season, and you were over talking to the manager and that, and then we just come up with the name Parched, and it's just gone viral. And he's just like to me, do you mind keeping it a secret, and we'll get you on the podcast? I said, yeah, brilliant. Like, you know, a bit of banter in that, and no problem. Do you know what I mean? So it's it is what it is, and it's all for good fun and that. But it's nice of my teammates to be going behind my back and slaughtering me.
And then putting it on a very very popular podcast is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
what was Crouchy like as a teammate? A bit of a joker?
Joker, great guy, very good footballer, technically very good. People don't underestimate how good he is with the ball at his feet. So, no, he was a great guy having the dressing room and that. And like you say, it comes to us all at the end of retirement, and he just, unfortunately, he left to go to Burnley, and it was a sad day because he was a great guy in the dressing room to have, and I always knew the big man coming off the bench or starting, he can get you a goal.
Fair. Was he? I can imagine with your sort of, lovely, angled balls and crouch to aim at. He must have been, one of your favourite teammates to sort of play with in terms of strikers. I mean, who else would you put in that bracket as players you've really enjoyed playing with?
I love playing with Arnautovic. Thought he was special. I thought he was a top player. Probably could have played for one of the big ones, and just made probably the wrong decision by, going to China. Obviously, the financial situation was probably the reason, but I thought he was doing brilliant at West Ham, and could have probably moved to to one of the bigger clubs to play. And you make that decision as a family and as a player, but no, he was great. Suarez was unbelievable. Stevie obviously, was top player. So no, these are the players that were good to look forward to playing with.
Speaking of going abroad, did you ever get any opportunities in your playing career to test yourself abroad?
Yeah, I've had a few options to go abroad. Funnily enough, I had that one the other week. My agent called me and said, "Do you want to go to Bangladesh and play?" I went,
"Really?
No chance." Yeah, some agent must have to go to Bangladesh and play, but it is what it is. It's you have that people are looking for players, but it's one of these. It's something I would love to try as a family. We spoke at my wife and kids, and it's something we would try, but. I am getting a little bit, older, and it might be a little bit more difficult. But if that option was there, then it's something you would look at.
Fair enough. Bangladesh would be quite a change of scene from Reading. But we're approaching the final minute here at the Etihad, and it is 4-0 to Man City. It's been an absolute demolition job. That man on screen, he's not on your screen, unfortunately, Kevin De Bruyne. We're seeing his stats: 1 goal, 1 assist, 4 shots, 5 chances created. He has quite simply been absolutely phenomenal, as he has been for the entire season. And that takes him to 11 goals and 17 assists, the most goal contributions in the Premier League. Joe, for you, I mean, there's talk about Jordan Henderson. Charlie brought up Mane earlier, but is he your player of the year?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's definitely the best player in the Premier League. I can understand that it's probably going to end up being a Liverpool player because obviously they've won the Premier League and the narrative around the squad. But I think Liverpool are more of a sum of their parts. I think to pull one individual name out of Liverpool, I think is very harsh on the rest of the team, because I think Van Dijk, you could say, has been a phenomenon. You could say the same for Alisson in goal, whereas KDB, I think, is just such a brilliant.
Oh, it's a fish!
Wow.
Mahrez has wrapped it up in the last minute. 5-0 Man City.
Wow.
Was that another KDB assist? Was that another KDB assist?
I think it might well be. Man City are running riot at the Etihad. 5 goals past the champions. Jurgen Klopp is actually smiling. He doesn't know what to do. Charlie, talk us through this one.
It's Foden.
Mahrez, sorry, Mendy played into Mahrez, round the corner, into Foden, 1-2. Good turn of pace, goes past Nico Williams, and goalie's got to do a little bit better, I think.
Keeper.
Oh, they're
no.
looking at
this for a
handball.
No.
Yeah, it's another Spurs incident. That's going to be another handball.
Oh my gosh.
Foden is
man.
getting
What
pulled
football-
over by Fabinho, and this is going to be given as a handball if they have any
what is football
consistency.
commentary? What is football commentary?
That is disallowed. That is a joke of a decision, and we have seen that twice in one day now. That goal ruled out at Bramall Lane and now ruled out at the Etihad. It finishes 4-0 to Man City.
Imagine if that was a big goal.
I know. Truly shocking. They need to sort out that rule.
It happened before in the Champions League, didn't it?
It did, City. Yeah. But basically what we're talking about, Fabinho pulled down, fouled Foden, and it touched his arm as it went through to Mahrez, and the goal is disallowed. Mahrez will be fuming, but Man City must be absolutely delighted. Against the champions of last week, they've gone and got revenge. They put a real stamp on their end of season, one of the results of the campaign. Charlie, as a previous Liverpool player, a person affiliated with the club, how disappointed are you with this result?
Yeah, listen, your pride's taking a hit tonight, and we'll obviously be disappointed in how they got beat. But in the grand scheme of things, they've won the league, and that's what they could always remember. But as a professional, you don't want to be getting beat 4-0. That'll be hurting tonight. And Man City have set a marker, like I said before the game, about this guard of honour. They'll be ready to show. Look at Pep; he's angry. He wants to. He's set a tone. He's set a marker for next season.
Yeah, Pep looks absolutely seething. He looks like he wants to go 12 rounds. He looks very, very pumped up indeed. Joe, from a Man City perspective, just how impressed were you with them tonight?
Yeah, well, they're just a phenomenal football team, aren't they? And I'm sure Pep will be absolutely really, really raging with his side that they're this far back in the league in the first place, because I'm sure he would have been hoping for another title challenge this season. To be 20 points behind Liverpool with 6 games to play, I think is very disappointing from his perspective. But make no mistake, Man City are going to bounce back next season. They're going to be putting together a title challenge. I'm sure they'll be trying to sign a couple players in the summer, maybe a centre-half to partner Laporte. And they'll come again, because you've seen the quality on display tonight. Some of the players they've got in this team are just sensational. Raheem Sterling and Kevin De Bruyne, the ability to bring on Bernardo Silva and David Silva and Mahrez off the bench is just frightening, the depth in the team. So they'll be back next season, and any team with Kevin De Bruyne is going to challenge for titles.
Yeah, KDB deserves a mention, as does Phil Foden, who was also awesome tonight. But let's have a look at the table. So that gap, Liverpool already champions, but that gap has been dropped to 20 points. They won't get another win closer to that win record. They're no closer to that Premier League points tally either. But to be honest, it's all about the race for third and fourth now. There are just 3 points separating Wolves in 6th and Leicester in 3rd. It is going to be a phenomenal race for the Champions League towards the end of the season. Let's have a look at the bottom of the table. Massive result for West Ham yesterday. They are now 3 points clear of relegation. You'd probably think Brighton are safe as well. So it's really a 5-way battle to avoid the drop. Norwich still 6 points off 19th place Bournemouth, who obviously were thrashed by Newcastle yesterday. So plenty of football still to be played, but it's really the race for the top 4 that we're going to be interested on in the Football Social from now on. But Will, let's get a question in from the fans. What are they making of that crazy result?
Yeah, lots of individual performances being picked out, Duke. I know you mentioned KDB, but Joe, I'll start with you. Can we look any further than KDB for man of the match?
No, had to be KDB. Absolutely had to be. I did think Phil Foden put in a very complete display for such a young lad. But we kind of come to expect that. Phil Foden now, such as his level. So yeah, I think it was between KDB and Phil Foden, but KDB just feels like a level above even in that game. It just feels like he's the best player on the pitch by a mile. And we're talking about a team that are 20 points clear with Salah and Mane in there and Jordan Henderson in there and Van Dijk. And KDB feels like such a step up that it's a scary level of ability.
Yeah, I've just had in my ear that he is the third favourite for the PFA Player of the Year behind Mane and Henderson. Charlie, how impressed with KDB have you been in his ability to battle back from that difficult spell at Chelsea to become one of the best players in the world?
Yeah, it's phenomenal that when you, let's say, you just get to club and the fit didn't suit. Obviously, Mourinho never fitted from there, and he went to Wolfsburg, was phenomenal there. And even people in the media were saying, "I'm not too sure if 50 million's if he's good enough for that." And since he's come to Man City, he's been phenomenal and world class player. And it'll be interesting to see what the conversation was with him and Virgil van Dijk after the game. Do you think they were trying to tap each other up, or? He's just a phenomenal player. And we talk about the big players. The big players turn up in the big moments, and he's a player that can turn it on at any moment that he wants. And he's a match winner. He can goals, assists. He's phenomenal. And Man City, like I say, if this transfer embargo does come in the Champions League, they have to try and do everything they can to keep him.
Yeah, I've wanted to ask you one final question, Charlie. I mean, obviously, it's coming to the end of David Silva's time at Man City. I wanted to know firsthand, what is it like to come up against David Silva?
He's a magician, phenomenal player. Like you're talking about De Bruyne and that, and David Silva was like that 5 years ago, 6 years ago. He was phenomenal, match winner. He was small, light, but would take the ball in any position. I remember his first goal against Blackpool. That was his first goal for Man City. It was against Blackpool, and he'd come and cut inside in the box and just bent it round me into the bottom corner, and he was phenomenal. And what a signing he's been for Man City.
Yeah, he has been absolutely phenomenal and will be sorely missed. Obviously, replacing Kompany's departure last summer proved pretty difficult. In Foden, they look like they've got a ready-made replacement, but it will still be very difficult. Charlie, to finish on, wanted to ask you a quick question on Reading. You've got Luton this weekend. What are your thoughts ahead of that?
Tough game. Luton had a good point at Leeds the other night, so it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, Nathan Jones is in there, so we sort of know a little bit about how he's going to play. And listen, we need to go there and win because we've lost a late goal at Stoke first game back, and then we lost to Derby the weekend, and then we lost again to Brentford the other night. So we need to bounce back and get as many points as we can from now to the end of the season and push up this league.
Well, all the best to you and the Reading team. And thank you so much for joining us on the Football Social once again, Charlie Adam. Fantastic insight as ever. Great energy and some fantastic stories, particularly about that Carling Cup celebrations and those celebrations at Rangers. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Joe, thank you very much as well. Great energy and insight as ever. Will, fantastic questions. Love having you on as ever. And guys, this is when we'll next be showing a Football Social. So it's a week on Sunday. It's the North London derby. Not had a great season, either of these sides, but bragging rights in North London will be decided at 4 p.m. That's on Soccer AM and Football Daily's YouTube channels. Make sure you don't miss out on that, and we will see you then. Thanks for watching.